Stephen Ross go after Sean Payton and Tom Brady again.
Oh, no.
It could happen.
McDaniel, I love him.
We all love him. But you never know what's going on in a building and how somebody wants to try to capture a chance to go for the Super Bowl. The other team that I would think that there's got to be some discussion about what's happening is Tennessee, depending on how they look this weekend against the Jaguars. Remember, offense coordinator DUI.
Yeah.
General manager fired. Coach like in a kind of a weird situation.
Wow.
And I know that the general manager was probably fired because of the trade of A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. And when they played Philadelphia, A.J. had a big game.
Went nuts.
And I know that Mike Vrabel did not want to trade A.J. Brown. And he told him to his face that he would never trade him. And that trade was done behind his back.
Tennessee, mark it down. I mean, he knows, people. He knows.
I don't know about that.
He knows. All right, look, we start playoffs next week. All of it. We'll cover it top to bottom. And games that are actually pickable. It's Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti. We'll talk to you next week.
It's Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of an LG wash tower with ultra-large capacity, serving up a powerful yet gentle clean in just 29 minutes. Making this the sound of savings on the best appliance brands. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Get up to 25% off the LG wash tower with ultra-large capacity and reduced wash time. Pricing valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. Gas Dryer Extra. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs. You just bought a home in the suburbs, but no one told you about all the birds, specifically this one, who seems to be calling out Roy. Roy. But who exactly is Roy? And why doesn't he ever respond? Maybe Roy is just bird speak for save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto. I guess until Roy answers, we'll never know. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers.
The date is December 15th, 2022. I have a 60-second radio spot for AbbVie, Sky Rizzy PS, Sophia's Kitchen Radio, 60 seconds. Spot was completed on 11/29/2022. Ad ID UHSK0174000. Job number AB22SKP100. Stereo mono compatible mix with a 2-pop.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
For Merkel, this is Granger Radio. Spot title, Without You, The Ones, 30. Ad ID, GRGR0158000. 30-second stereo radio mix, December 15th, 2022 at 11 a.m.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Changing your oil. You know, an oil change is a great way to get more MPGs. Right now, you can enter for a daily chance to win a $200 AutoZone gift card when you buy 5 quarts of Mobil 1 Full Synthetic and an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $38.99. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
No purchase required.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. CalHope can help. Access CalHope's free and secure mental health resources. Call 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Make the switch to green soaps and personal products and green cleaning products for the sink and shower. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Some fans gear up for game day, but some fans follow their team every day. That's why the Locked On Podcast Network has a daily podcast for your favorite NBA team. Every trade, every overtime win, every game, our local experts cover the biggest stories around your team every day. Search Locked On plus your favorite NBA team on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers. It's good news for all Americans who owe back taxes to the IRS or state and struggling to pay them back. The IRS is now making it easier to settle delinquent tax problems through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Due to the financial hardship many are facing in this current economic downturn, qualifying for this program will settle your delinquent tax problem, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes by up to 99%. For this free information and to see if you qualify, call the hotline at the Tax Hardship Center by dialing 800-411-6406. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes and cannot afford to pay them, there's no need to worry. You may now qualify to settle your delinquent tax problem and save thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-411-6406. 800-411-6406. That's 800-411-6406.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. An Odyssey station. It's time for Warriors This Week.
Shot clock down to 10. Poole, dribble drive to Thompson in the corner. He'll launch with 5 and for 3 and say goodnight.
Now, here's Sean Dickinson.
We say good morning to you here on Warriors This Week at 95.7 The Game. We welcome you in. It's Sean Dickinson and Whitey Gleason. As always here, good Saturday morning to you. And Happy New Year, Whitey. Statute of limitations, I mean, it's our first time together, so even on the 7th, I think I can say Happy New Year to you, my friend. I will allow that as long as you'll allow me to wish you an early happy birthday and a belated happy birthday to Craig. If those stand, then your Happy New Year is acceptable. They stand. All right. I mean, beautiful. How can I quibble with that? We'll just roll right through it, and I'll say thank you very much. And yeah, new year, new me, new year, another birthday. All those things go together for Craig and I. Yeah. How about it, JD? New year, and here we are. It seems like the season, at least to me, it still seems like the season just started. And yet here we are almost halfway through, 2 more games, and we're officially, halfway through the Warriors schedule. And so here they sit at 20-19, with the Clippers haven't lost 5 in a row, and the Suns haven't lost 5 in a row. The Warriors, 20-19, well, I guess things are trending in the right direction. They're all the way up to 6th right now, and they're only 6 games out of that top spot in spite of all the trials and tribulations they've already been through. Yeah, pretty incredible as the Warriors get set to play the Magic tonight at Chase Center. 5:30 tip-off, as we do have a full day of coverage for you here on 95.7 The Game as the Warriors and Magic go at it. It's the 7th game of the 8-game homestand, Whitey. The Warriors currently 5-1, let one get away against the Pistons the other night, but with a couple of days off, and as Steve Kerr mentioned before that game, reinforcements on the way. Andrew Wiggins set to make his return tonight for the Warriors against the Magic. Andre Iguodala out of nowhere, and I think we knew it was probably going to work out this way with Iguodala. Like, oh, is he going to play? Is he going to play? And everybody was assuming after the All-Star break, but I think we all should have probably known all along that at some point Iguodala was just randomly going to say, "Hey, I'm ready," and just be out there. And the Warriors kind of need him right now with some of the injuries, in particular to Jonathan Kuminga. But it feels like the Warriors, with the group that they had gotten about as far as they probably could with that group, and I think they were getting a little leaky, as we saw even against the Pistons team that came into Chase with the worst record in the NBA on Wednesday night, were able to get a win. But reinforcements on the way. Steph Curry, it sounds like realistic chance he could be back in 6 days when the Warriors begin the road trip at San Antonio. And then, as you mentioned, the Warriors don't play for 2 days, and they move up 3 spots just by not playing.
Yeah.
They went from 9th, and there was an opportunity to get to 5th on Wednesday had the Warriors been able to win that game against the Pistons. But they go from 9th to 6th without even playing a game here now. A game back of Sacramento's in 5th. They're only 2 back of Dallas, who's in 4th. And I know you set the tone of the top spot and only being 6 out of Denver there. Denver and Memphis pacing the Western Conference here, but you could make the case the Warriors are already, at least for now, in a position that they would have signed up for really at a month ago, but even at the beginning of the year, I think they would have signed up for, hey, let's be 6th on January 7th with everybody potentially getting healthy and time to make a run.
And here's what's impressive about that. They've got Orlando tonight, then they wrap up the homestand with the Suns on Tuesday. And the Suns are really struggling right now. Of course, Devin Booker's been hurt, and the Suns have lost 5 straight. They've lost 8 of 9. They've lost 13 of 17. And Booker's missed, he's missed 9 of 10 games. So understandable. And he's not the only one that missed. Cam Johnson's out. I think Payne is out as well. But you look at what the Warriors have done without Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins, and they've been winning these dramatic games despite having no Steph. And you look at how Phoenix has struggled, it really makes you appreciate just what the Warriors are doing. That said, JD, I personally had a hard time with the loss to Detroit. I understand it because you are shorthanded, and in some ways they're a bad matchup for you. Boy, it would have been nice to win that game. But having Iguodala back tonight is also interesting to me from this standpoint. When the Warriors lost that game, again, that game at Phoenix where Klay lost his cool, the next day I was in for Damon, and Ray and I were interviewing Steve Kerr, and I asked him at that point, it looks like you need help. What about Andre Iguodala? And he pushed back. He's like, I think we've been pretty clear that Andre will be around sometime in the second half and be ready for the playoffs. And I'm sure that's what the plan was. But now, as you say, he's been working out. It's been coming. But still, it feels like, hey, how about that? Andre Iguodala back tonight at a time when the Warriors, it looks like they could really use him.
Yeah, and getting healthy with those wing bodies that I think you need, in particular against a young team like Orlando. But I also wonder if part of this is trying to find out what Iguodala exactly has in the tank and what he can offer as a player between now and the end of the regular season. Now, hear me out on this, because I know with the two-way contracts, and it's not even so much about Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb, and maybe wanting to be able to sign both of those into contracts which make them eligible for the playoffs. But I think the Warriors could be in a spot where even if they want to sign one of the two, I think they may want to look at the buyout market. And to do that, you'd have to be able to have a roster spot available. And so I'm kind of wondering if they want to get a little bit more of an early look at what Iguodala has in the tank and how much he can help to just ensure his standing on this team as a player between now and the end of the regular season and in the playoffs. Because if they deem it something and Iguodala deems it something to where he doesn't think he can help on the floor, maybe he would become somebody that his roster spot could be freed up at some point.
That's a great point. I know one thing they'll seek to avoid. Everybody knows this. They have to avoid giving Andre Iguodala as heavy a workload as they gave him early last year. I know we talked about this at the time last year, JD. He helped them get off to that
quick start. And I know I'm speaking for myself. I know I felt like, he might play a little bit, but you look at his minutes last year. He played 23 minutes in his first game, 23 and a half, 20 minutes. He did miss one game in there, but then he played 20 minutes, 25, 17, 17, 70. He played a lot, and he was productive. There was a game against the Pelicans in November when he had 10 assists. There was he rebounded well. He had, made 2 out of 5 3-pointers on opening night against the Lakers. So I think the Warriors were surprised how well he played, and I think they would tell you, he probably rode him a little too hard there in the early part of the season. By the end of the year, he didn't have much left. So I'm sure they are anxious to see what he's got here to contribute, but they also got to make sure that whatever they want from him, that they ease him into it to avoid what they did last year.
888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Phone lines open. John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason. Warriors this week, we're off and running here on a Saturday on 95.7 The Game as the Warriors and the Magic tonight. Phoenix Suns on Tuesday, and then the Warriors set to hit the road. But, yeah, even at 20-19, Whitey, good enough for 6th in the Western Conference, clear of that play-in tournament. And I think the Warriors have to believe with Wiggins back tonight, you pepper in a little Iguodala, which I think helps offset the loss of Jonathan Kuminga, at least for the next week and maybe longer, with Kuminga among that group of players that's set to be reevaluated right before the Warriors embark on that 5-game road trip, which begins 6 nights from tonight in San Antonio. Kuminga, along with JaMychal Green and also James Wiseman, all set to be reevaluated then. So Iguodala helps in terms of your wing depth there over the course of the next couple of games and maybe onto that road trip. Again, as you alluded to, not that he's going to play every single night or play significant minutes every single night, but then you've got Steph Curry's potential return, and it sounds like everything is going as well as can be expected for Steph, and if he ends up coming back on the 13th, that would essentially be 1 month missed from December the 14th when he went out in Indiana, and nobody really knew. I remember that Friday or that Thursday when the Niners were getting ready to play up in Seattle, and everybody holding their breath as to how long Steph would be out. Is it going to be? Could it be something that really messes with his season? Even is it going to be a 6 to 8 week kind of a deal? And I think the belief at that point was if it was going to be that long, maybe the Warriors couldn't survive. I think it was a little iffy as to how would it look, and can the Warriors survive even a 4-week absence? As it turns out, it looks like it's going to be, Whitey. But the Warriors have done very well here in these games without Steph Curry. After a clunky start on the road, they've come back and to be 5-1 and 6-4 overall in the 10 full games that they've had without Steph.
Yeah,
you got to take that.
Yeah,
you got to take that. And 20-19, I think is overall underwhelming based on the expectations, I think, for the Warriors. But given everything that's happened this season and the ups and downs and the really 3 or 4 different phases, I think they got to be pretty happy about the 20-19, assuming, again, that they can win these next 2 games to get to 22-19.
I think when Steph got hurt, 1 month seemed like about the brightest prognosis. And I know that the Warriors couched it, and no one knew exactly what was going to happen, but they talked from the time that Steph was injured about weeks. This looks like it's a matter of weeks rather than months. And I agree with you. If it ends up being basically 4 weeks a month, that would be a tremendous victory. By the way, if he comes back on the 13th, so a week from last night, that San Antonio game, and I know as that approaches, we'll talk more about the fact that that's in the Alamo Dome, and they're going to be trying to break the all-time record for attendance because they'll be celebrating, what a year to do it, but they'll be celebrating, 50 years of Spurs basketball. So that'll be exciting too. But I think I'm in the minority here. Everything you said is undeniable. Yeah, 2019 is all things considered, you got to be happy with that. But the loss to the Pistons bothered me, JD. I know Jordan Poole turning the ball over at the end of the game, 3rd game in a row. It wasn't his fault they lost the game. They're not in that game without some of his shooting. But the fact that it's happened 3 games in a row, and the fact that you kick one that would have been nice to have against a team with the worst record in the NBA,
I know the Warriors are as good as anybody at putting a happy face on a loss because they've proven last year, look at all the bad losses. Oh, we'll be okay, and they won a championship. So I get that, but I got to admit, there's something about the loss to the Pistons, losing twice to the team with the worst record in the league. I kind of sticks in my craw a little bit.
Yeah, I get that, and I can understand only the third home loss and all of that, but I think I even look back through the homestand and I go, well, you know what? The game against Charlotte got tight late. Utah back and forth down the stretch. Needed a rally against Portland to win that game.
Hawks game,
so
you're right.
Yeah, the Hawks game could have been lost 3 or 4 different ways. So I tend to look at it as, hey, 5-1 overall. There's a worst-case scenario in there where maybe that 5-1 is 2-4, and then we're having a completely different conversation. I mean, the ability shorthanded to win as many close games as they have been able to do, and again, doing it without Steph Curry in particular, but also Wiggins. I mean, that's the other part of this thing for me. I think the Warriors' hope was at the beginning of the homestand, Whitey, that they were going to get everybody back except Steph Curry and essentially be able to try and go 6-2 or 7-1, which I think was a tall ask even at that point with everybody. But the goal, I think, was get everybody back except Steph, see if you can make a run, then drop Steph right back into it. You know, I've been on record saying I thought really 6-2 is what was necessary for a successful homestand, just based on the fact that you were 3 under. So the only way you can come home and leave again being over 500 would be to go +4, meaning 6-2. And so the Warriors still have to get that 6th win for me. I know they've got a great chance at getting 7, given everything that's going on with Phoenix. But I kind of look at, believe it or not, the Detroit game as, well, you know what? The Warriors got, and they could have got
I understand
in
that.
any of these other games.
I understand
and you know
that.
what? In a sense, you almost throw out the opponent because of the group that's actually playing for this Warriors team right now. Normal circumstances, full strength, I would agree with you. Considering the actual circumstances and the fact that the Warriors did beat Memphis and Utah and Portland and all of these other teams to this point on the homestand, Atlanta, I think I'm willing to give them one. They looked tired to me the other night.
And that's a bad matchup. That's a bad matchup in some ways for them, even though Detroit's, they got a terrible record, but they're really athletic and long.
No, it really is. Some of the size, the strength, the athleticism. And again, I thought the Warriors were a little bit – I thought they were a little bit fatigued. They look like a team that had played a lot of games in a short period of time and were losing players as they were going through it as opposed to getting healthier as they were going through it. Now they stop, get a couple of days off. They had a practice yesterday. And now, surprise, not only is – Andrew Wiggins back, which I think is something that was expected and expected sooner, has been laid out. But now you get Andre Iguodala back, which, again, in the short term, I think helps offset the loss of Jonathan Kuminga. And the loss of Jonathan Kuminga was really felt, I believe, in the game against Detroit. He's the kind of player that would fit right in a game with all of the athletes that the Pistons put out there.
Yeah, real quick, I know we got some callers lining up, which we appreciate. 888-957-9570. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. My feeling is just that every win is so precious now, and you had a chance to win a game at home against a bad team. They lost it, but you're right. Big picture, they're still having a great homestand. The other thing I was going to say quickly, and you actually stole my thunder, 2 things that stood out to me about the homestand to this point. The way Klay has played, of course, has been great, and also the fact that Kuminga has given you a degree of defense that night to night you come to rely upon. And the fact that they've really missed him, especially defensively, I think speaks volumes as to how much his game has evolved and how much he's matured as a player.
888-957-9570. 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason here on 95.7 The Game. It's Warriors this week as the Xfinity Mobile text line is open. The phone lines are open as well. We'll get to the calls here coming up momentarily on 95.7 The Game. As again, we are with you until 1 o'clock. It's a full day of coverage here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors and the Magic. Let's get to Philmo Mike.
Yeah.
What's going on, Philmo?
Philmo! Hey, what's up, y'all? Hey, Whitey, I didn't mean to, if I offended you by saying what I said that day, I didn't mean to offend you.
You didn't. No, we're all good. No problem. It was funny. We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, for sure. I thought you didn't take the joke too kindly, but thank you. I know you did. I don't feel bad. Anyway, tell him the joke too, Whitey. Let him know what I said. Jordan Poole, though, Steiny said this earlier. He's no different than Curry. Curry still be making turnovers in the clutch. So I don't want to hear anybody talking about Jordan Poole making turnovers in the clutch, because Steph Curry still, to this day, what did old boy say, the boxer? To this day, he still be making turnovers in the clutch. Now, with that being said, Baron Davis, just some history, was the best at late game situation. Monte got good later in his Golden State career, but Baron Davis had the ability to break down the defense, create somebody else's shot, or get the shot off on his own. Anyway, without that being said, Draymond Green tech is crazy. His reputation precedes him. It's not fair. The NBA, the refs need to look at perspective from a fan view and realize, essentially, every text should not be assessed the same way. You look at what Draymond did; he was protecting himself. So you protecting yourself, you just pull somebody like, bro, don't be doing that, bro. Like, be cool, and you walk away. You should not get a text for that. I don't care if you had a tech prior. It shouldn't matter. Tech prior. It shouldn't matter if you got 1 or 2 texts, 0 texts. It is what it is. His reputation precedes him. Y'all have a hell of a show, though, man. JD, what up?
Yep.
Thanks, Phil Mo.
The reputation of both players going back to Wednesday night was in play. I know Isaiah Stewart is somebody that's not afraid to mix it up. He's had altercations in the past. He's been suspended in the past. And so I think really it was a scenario where the officials thought in that instance, got to hit them both with a tech. And unfortunately, I think in a playoff game, does Draymond get ejected? I think maybe they take a harder look at, that would put him out of the game. But in a regular season game, I think the setting of the example of we don't want certain things to jump off took precedent over it. And to me, it's more about, was it weak? Sure. You could say it was weak to give the double tech there, but it's also
it was
Draymond,
lazy too. It was lazy.
Yeah, and but it's also don't get the first technical, which puts you in that immediate position of being vulnerable to something like that late in a game. Even if in a playoff game, I don't think Draymond winds up getting tossed for something like that.
I had some people that weren't too happy about what I said about Draymond last show of the year, JD, I was doing with Kyle, and I just said, he's got to be better and he's got to avoid those situations. He can't, especially now when they're shorthanded, he can't do things, he can't tap out of games because he's angry. He can't compromise the team by losing his cool. But in this case, I'm with Phil Mona. We're all on the same page here. I don't think he did anything. I don't know if the officials ever really looked at what happened. If grabbing someone's jersey is grounds for a technical, you're not going to have enough players to play in a game. And I don't know what Draymond did. They had hold of each other's jerseys. Isaiah Stewart pulled Draymond towards him. At that point, there's not much you can do other than put your hands up and go, no, I'm not going there. We did talk to Steve Kerr Thursday. He said the Warriors are going to talk to the league about that and look into having that rescinded, which I think they should. I don't know what kind of chances they have of pulling that off. But from what I saw, Draymond, almost literally did not do a single thing in that exchange that would warrant a technical. So we'll see.
888-957-9570. Let's go to Dory next here on 95.7 The Game. Dory in San Francisco. Hey, Dory.
Hey, JD and Whitey, my favorite pair on 95.7. So I have a question about the buyout market. So if the Warriors decide they want to keep Jerome and Lamb, is it as simple as swapping them for Rollins? And although I like Baldwin, the scenario, sending Rollins and Baldwin, into two-way status and replacing them with Jerome and Lamb. And also they do have an open roster spot still, right? And they also, obviously, if they want to go in the buyout market, they could use it for that, or they could drop Jermichael and replace him.
Yeah, thanks for the call. It's not quite as simple, Dory, as you laid out there. The Warriors do have 14 roster spots. You're allowed to have 15 as far as players that have contracts for the big club, non-two-way. There's two additional two-way deals, but no, it isn't as simple as swapping or anything like that. Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins are both on NBA contracts.
Yeah,
so
you can't. You'd be violating their contracts by saying, "Okay, you guys are two-way guys now, all right? We're good." Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, so they are signed and on the roster. They have roster spots. Now, you could cut them, and that means that somebody else could sign them at that point, which obviously you wouldn't want to lose either of those players to have the rest of the league have an opportunity to claim via waivers or to sign them outright. So those two players are safe. They're not a part of the equation there. They're part of the 14. If you did, let's say, for example, want to add Anthony Lamb, make him eligible beyond the 50 games that he currently is, and make him eligible for the playoffs, you could sign him into the 15th spot, which is open currently. You then could sign another player from the outside to fill his two-way spot at that point. But if you wanted to if you sign Anthony Lamb to the 15th spot, then you would have to cut someone else if you wanted to add another player via the buyout market at that point, or if you wanted to add Ty Jerome as another player that you want to make eligible beyond the 50 games or for the playoffs. So they are in a little bit of a numbers crunch. And at this point, I think, Whitey, I would say Anthony Lamb's the leader in the clubhouse for that 15th spot, but a lot can happen, and there may be a player that's currently on another team or that the Warriors believe is going to be available in the buyout market that winds up on the roster in that spot, and that would change the calculus as far as Anthony Lamb and as far as if the Warriors feel they need to make some kind of other move to cut somebody else to free up another spot.
Yeah, and then in addition to all that, of course, there's the possibility that if the opportunity arose and you like the opportunity, you could trade a player. I mean, I know we've talked about Wiseman and people defend Wiseman, and that's great, but it was interesting the things Joe Lacob said to Tim Kawakami this week about how, we love him, but, we'll have to pay him a lot of money and we can't wait forever. So from what Joe Lacob said, I think that they're even more open than I thought they might be to possibly looking at dealing Wiseman, but then they wouldn't have to pay him $12.1 million times the luxury tax if they could get a player back. So that's neither here nor there, except it's in addition to everything you said in terms of how could the Warriors bolster their roster going forward for the rest of this year if they chose to.
You mentioned Joe Lacob's interview with Tim Kawakami of The Athletic. We are going to play a couple of clips from that. A lot to get into based on what you just laid out. Also, based on the contract situation of Bob Myers. You've been trying to figure out, hey, what's going on with Bob Myers and his contract and why he isn't under contract beyond this season. Joe Lacob offered a little bit of insight to Tim. So we'll play a couple of clips from that. We'll react to it. 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason. We're off and running here on a Saturday on 95.7 The Game.
Boy, am I glad to be done with my holiday shopping.
Oh, I know.
And now I just want to relax.
Me too. Well, except there's one more store we should check out.
Oh, no way.
Because this week, we can get a Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at an incredible price.
Really? Where?
At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. They're really cutting deals.
Because the holidays are over?
Yep. So this is our chance to get what we wanted for Christmas.
Are the prices really that good?
Yes. For 7 days they are. And Video Only has those top-rated models we were thinking about all on sale.
All right. The best stuff cheap is worth a trip.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
He's the best interview in the Bay Area.
Splish Splash. Coach, are you taking a bath?
Did you hear a little water in the background?
Yeah! He's a 9-time NBA champion.
Not 5, not 6, not 7.
And he's on with Damon and Ratto every single week during the NBA season.
Wow.
It's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr on 95.7 The Game. Presented by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet only from Xfinity.
From the beginning, Meriwest Credit Union was created to provide a brighter financial future for you. We work hard for our members because they're our greatest strength.
Meriwest worked for me when I needed an auto loan for my first car.
When I need to make a mobile payment, Meriwest works for me.
Put our premier savings account to work for you, now paying up to 25 times the national average. Mara West Credit Union, working for you today, tomorrow, together.
There's nothing more thrilling than college football, and it all comes down to the national championship game. And your go-to for betting is DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sports apps. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and get $200 in free bets instantly, win or lose. Plus, everyone can combine multiple bets for a bigger payout with DraftKings same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code UPONGAME. New customers bet just $5 on college football and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's code UPONGAME only at DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ohio. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. Bonus issued as free bets. Eligibility and terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms.
Make connections that count at Evergreen Valley College and get free tuition when you enroll for 6 units or more. That's right, free tuition and no student fees this spring. EVC is an award-winning transfer college and has the 4th most diverse faculty in the country. And with EVC alum earning more money than nearly every other community college in the country, you can take classes and transfer or fast-track your career. Enroll for classes today and get free tuition for the spring. Visit evc.edu for more information and enroll for classes at evc.edu. That's evc.edu.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, this is Klay Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. None of y'all told me that AutoTrader has millions of new and used cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling. No one told me that with AutoTrader, a dealer can deliver cars to my home or that I could shop by price on AutoTrader. No one. Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over. Finally, it's easy. AutoTrader.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966. Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1966. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, welcome back. John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give us a call or shoot us a text here as we're with you until 1 o'clock. And then I will reconvene from Chase Center with you for Warriors Live, Warriors and the Magic this afternoon and on into the evening here on 95.7 The Game. Game 7 of the 8-game homestand. And some good news on the injury front as Andrew Wiggins and Andre Iguodala set to both play for the Warriors in this one. We'll keep you updated on the latest on all of that. But things looking good as far as Iguodala and Wiggins being able to return. Of course, Iguodala has not played at all for the Warriors this season. 888-957-9570. Whitey, we were talking about it a little bit before the break. Let's get into it here as we return, and that is the interview that Tim Kawakami, The Athletic, did on his podcast, the TK Show, with Warriors owner Joe Lacob. And among the things discussed, and I think a couple of things, go back about a month ago, I guess it was 4 weeks ago today, when the Warriors were playing the Celtics at Chase, and Woj of ESPN had the report, right, as their pregame show was starting, hey, Bob Myers is in the last year of his contract, and he doesn't have a contract for next year. It was pretty much left at that point, and there had been some speculation. I don't know that there was any specific reporting, Whitey, correct me if I'm wrong.
I agree with you. I think you're right. That was about it in terms of actual reporting.
Yeah, that addressed whether he had been offered a contract or where things stood between Bob Myers and the organization. But Joe Lacob did address just the idea of him not having a contract offer. Here's what he said to Tim Kawakami.
All I will say is that it is not accurate that he has somehow not been offered anything. There have been 2 offers at this point. I'm trying. Have you ever known me not to be aggressive?
No.
So that is crazy to sit here and say, and I'm sorry I have to say that I'm not trying to violate any negotiation. I hope Bob doesn't get upset or his agent. But I just want to clarify that. It's not fair to put me and us in a situation by someone put something out there that, and I don't know who, that he hasn't been offered anything. That's just not true. So he's got to make a decision, what he wants to do with his life, what's the appropriate compensation. He feels it's fair. We feel it's fair. And it's really just a negotiation. To be honest with you, I fully expect Bob will be back. And he's a great negotiator.
There you
what
go.
do you want him to do? He's supposed to do this. Yep. So, we love Bob. We want him back.
So 2 offers, and there's a lot to parse through here. I'm left, and I don't know about you. I just want to get kind of your overarching thoughts on this, but I'm left hearing all of that, and I know a lot of people thought, well, okay, it's about money then. The first offer maybe wasn't quite good enough, then there was a second offer, and then now Bob is either sitting on the offer or he's waiting or he hasn't accepted it or he's told them flat out no. But I get the impression that a lot of people believe in hearing that this is about money and maybe a third offer needs to be made that's a little bit more, and then Bob Myers says, oh, okay, I'm in. Sign me up. I was left thinking more about it not being about money, to be honest, that the money maybe wasn't where Bob Myers wanted it to be initially. Joe Lacob bumped it up, but then Bob Myers is still, there's something that he needs to consider. And it's sort of in line with what I thought and have kind of laid out here at different points on the station that maybe it's just time. Like maybe Bob is really weighing, sure, the money is a part of it, but it's more about, do I really want to continue to commit for 2, 3, 4 more years at a job that's been draining to a certain extent. And I think we always say, well, all right, pay me more. But I think in a world where you have somebody like Bob Myers who could get another job anywhere he wants or sit out for a couple of years and have plenty of money to live in the short term and know that he would have a high amount of money coming his way down the line, I do think he is in a unique position that a lot of us can't identify with, where just being comfortable and feeling that it's worth it and just where his family is and everything that's been accomplished to this point is it's bigger than just money. So, I don't know about you, but I was left thinking this isn't a scenario where, hey, bump the offer up, Joe. To me, it was more of there was probably a pretty good offer that maybe still isn't enough to get Bob Myers over the hump of saying, I want to commit again long term. I don't think there's a bad guy here, but I think it goes beyond just the compensation.
And both things could be true. Again, I'm not totally comfortable speculating on all this because we don't know. There's so much we don't know, but that's what we're doing. So fair enough. It could be a matter of where, from Bob Myers' standpoint, and maybe this isn't worth continuing for me because I have other interests. Unless they're going to give me this. I mean, it could be that simple. Unless I get this much, or unless I get the total speculation. Ray was talking about this. Unless I get a piece of the team, something like that. He certainly would be entitled, you would think, based on what other GMs are getting, to get more than anyone else is getting, to get something like a piece of the team, which maybe Masai Ujiri has. So it could be. Could come down to something like that. My own feeling was I'm more optimistic that Bob Myers is around next year after hearing what Joe Lacob said. I take Joe Lacob at his word. We love him. We want to keep him. We've made a couple offers. We think he's going to be back. So, okay, that to me is encouraging. You're right. I mean, if it's a matter of Bob Myers just not sure he wants to do it, then there's only so much that Joe Lacob can do. But there have been no indications from the way Bob Myers has comported himself, the work he's done. He seems fully engaged. So I remain optimistic that it is a matter of negotiations and that Bob Myers is, if he's going to continue with this, he wants a substantial raise, which he's entitled to. And so it's a matter of them figuring out where it goes from here. I'm optimistic that he's back next year, JD.
Yeah, and it also could be as simple as Bob saying, hey, let's let this season play out and see how things end up. And we can reconvene then. I know when he was asked with Steiny and Guru, and I think that was a day you were in, about his future.
Yeah, Guru asked him, yes.
Yeah, he really didn't want to get, he wanted to focus on the team right now and the team improving right now, I think, more than his personal situation. And he is a thoughtful individual in that respect. And he is, you get the impression that he really cares at a level deeply that maybe isn't always there for people in his position or people that have frankly made the amount of money that he's been able to make in his career.
Yeah, one of the things that I wondered about before Joe Lacob talked to Tim Kawakami about this was maybe Joe Lacob feels like, you know what, it's time for us to make a change there. It's pretty clear from what Joe Lacob said. That is not the case. That is not his thinking. So to me, again, as someone who would love to see Bob Myers stay here for a long time, I found that very encouraging.
888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason here on 95.7 The Game. As let's go ahead and hear another clip here, too. And this was the second part of this with Joe Lacob and Tim Kawakami, The Athletic. And Joe says here, he lays out what Bob has meant to the organization, but he also adds another component to this. So here's Joe.
He's done a phenomenal job. He's been executive of the year, and deservedly so. If you look back at over his 10-year career, we don't tend not to talk about Bob, but Bob's done an incredible job. Bob, the Andre Iguodala signing, I look back and say that was, actually, you guys will never understand how difficult that was. He had to clear a lot of space to do that. He did a phenomenal job. Kevin Durant was really his idea and execution, and that brought us 2 championships. So look, Bob's great. Bob's done a great job, but we also do have a tremendous organization beneath him, great depth. I'd like to think more depth than almost any organization with really good people, and he's supported very well. And so, look, I don't want him to go. I don't think he'll go anywhere. I expect him to be here, and it would hurt to lose him, certainly. But like you said, I mean, we have to just go forward. So there are circumstances that do evolve sometimes, and I guess it's conceivable. There's some chance that for some reason he or Steve wouldn't be here. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. And so, we'd have to figure out a way to go forward.
Does that make you feel better or worse about it? I know you said you were feeling pretty good about it off of the first answer, but him talking about the depth and you never know. And again, he said he still thinks he probably will return, but also kind of laying out the foundation for well, if he doesn't, we feel like we got a really, really deep organization with a lot of executive talent that can help step in.
Well, to me, clearly they're still negotiating. And if you're negotiating with someone and they've already turned down 2 of your offers, the last thing you can afford to do publicly is say, we need this guy. We're lost without him, because that weakens your position. So I think Joe Lacob is approaching this as he has to. I'm taking him at his word that he says he's optimistic that they can find an agreement. It's just interesting, JD, because there are so many things, and I know we'll talk about a number of the things Joe Lacob mentioned in the TK show, so many things with the Warriors, and this is just one of them where they're at a crossroads. Bob Myers going to keep him? Well, we'd like to, and so many times Joe Lacob in this interview said, this is what we'd like to do, but, you don't know. We'd like to keep all our players, but it's expensive. We love Wiseman, but can we keep him? We don't know. So it's just, that's where they are here as these two, whatever you want to call them, for lack of better terms, these two timelines seem to converge here, and your core ages, and you got to decide, do we replace? Do we go on with this? There's just a number of these massive decisions that Joe Lacob and Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, as an organization, they're going to have to make here in terms of trying to figure out the best way to keep this thing moving forward. It's really a fascinating time for the Warriors and for their fans.
888-957-9570. I know you laid it out a couple of times, and Joe Lacob said it. Is this just part of negotiating, right? Both ways.
Yeah.
With, as you said, Joe setting the table for, hey, we would not be broken without you. I wonder if part of that is, because there is a baseline. I heard Steiny and Guru talking about this, and I kind of, in a way, I scoffed in this sense, Whitey, because I thought to myself, as I think Steiny put it out there, hey, if I'm Bob Myers, I would demand, simply given everything that I've done, to be the highest paid GM and president of basketball operations. And I thought to myself, well, duh. And again, we don't know the terms and where he ranks and all of that among GMs, and maybe that is part of it. But I would imagine, again, nobody knows for sure, but I would imagine him being the highest paid or among the highest paid. I mean, if he wanted to be the highest paid, to me, all right, you make him the highest paid, and that's I just think it's a little bit deeper than that. And maybe there is some pushback from Joe saying, hey, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm uncomfortable right now making you the highest paid because we have this depth and you're so well supported and the like. But I don't know. To me, the 4 titles speak for themselves, and the potential at a 5th. And so I guess what I'm getting at Whitey, is I find it hard to believe that this thing would be hung up on Bob Myers saying, hey, I want to be the highest paid GM in the NBA, and Joe Lacob saying, nah, I don't know. I can't see it being about that at this point.
We talked to Steve Kerr Thursday. Again, I was in for Damon, and we wanted to figure out, how do you ask Coach about all this? And obviously, it's not his business. So I just asked him, look, there's negotiating going on. We know that's their business. But Steve, you've been a GM. So as a coach, how much do you appreciate working with Bob Myers? And he just went on and on, heaping praise on Bob Myers and the stability. He mentioned the stability that has been a big part of the Warriors' success since Bob Myers has been here. To me, it's pretty clear. I agree with what Ray Ratto said. Easy for me to say it's not my money, but I agree with the way Ray put it. If I'm Joe Lacob, and I'm not, who knows the things he has to figure out. Now, I couldn't figure them out, but I would say, Bob, what do you want? Bob says, I want this much. I say, okay, here's $1 more than that. We're good. Right? I mean, I think he's been that remarkable, and he's been that big a part of your success.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I think Joe Lacob would do that. The question that I have, and this is where I relate back to the fact that nothing is done yet, it makes me wonder if maybe that has been done already, and Bob is still saying, hey, you know what, I'm not sure. And that's something that I've had in the back of my mind, or I want to see how the rest of this season plays out, or I want to know more about what the future trajectory of the franchise is going to be, whether that is commitment to development of the young players versus, oh, now we have to trade Draymond Green because he's going to opt in, or whatever the case may be. Like I feel like there's more to this than just the compensation and the money and paying Bob Myers what he's worth. I know a lot of people say, JD, you're foolish. It always comes down to money. Again, I'm assuming, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm assuming that the money part of it is in line with highest paid. And now if it's not, then we're having a completely different conversation at that point. And then it would shift to being completely wholeheartedly on Joe Lacob, bump that offer up, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that. I think there's more to Bob being such a thoughtful individual and laid out and a family-oriented guy and somebody that's really been a big part, as Steve Kerr mentioned, of the culture here with the Warriors and the way that they've all worked together to provide that stability. So to me, it's, from a fan standpoint, I'll kind of add too, from a Warrior fan standpoint, it's got to be, well, damn, I hope you better keep him, because I would be worried, even given the depth that Joe Lacob lays out, I would be worried that someone with the humility and class of a Bob Myers was not at the forefront of the organization anymore. If it did get to that point, and they have a lot of other great people but Bob, to me, with Steve and with Steph Curry, that is a threesome there that really, I think, set the tone for what the Warriors culture is all about.
Another part of it, I think we touched on this last week, and people have thrown this around. If you're Bob Myers, you're probably not excited about the prospect of, at some point, perhaps in the not-too-distant future, starting to dismantle this thing that you've built. And it depends on, okay, where are we going here? So that could be part of it too. But also, one of the things that Joe Lacob said that really resonated with me, and I agree with everything you said about Bob Myers, and he's been going back years, he's such a nice guy when you interview him. He's so cooperative and he's so generous with his time. So we all really appreciate Bob Myers. And I think that's one of the reasons everyone at the station is hoping he's around, because he's so much fun to interview and he's so good. Yeah, but he used to be an agent. He's a great negotiator. He's a really smart guy. And that's not a criticism. That's the tip of the cap. So there's that too. And as Joe Lacob said, he's a really good negotiator. So I think to this point, the fact that the fact that Joe Lacob had to come out publicly and say, hey, we've made him offers, I think as far as the public negotiating goes, I think Bob Myers has a leg up in that department.
Did Joe slip up a little bit there, Whitey, in that it hadn't been reported that there hadn't been offers? Like, there's a difference between making offers and someone, not accepting the offers. Like, I didn't assume,
right?
And again, to my ear, I didn't assume that there hadn't been an offer made. Like,
right.
I guess maybe that's how some took the report, but I don't also recall anyone else saying that there hadn't been an offer at any point. It was just, hey, the contract is up and nothing had been agreed to this point to continue.
You're right. I came in that day and Mark Grandy was going through the audio, and he says, Joe Lacob says reports that they haven't offered Bob Myers anything, he says, are not true. And my immediate reaction was, there have been no such reports. I don't believe there have been such reports. So then why did Joe Lacob go there? I don't think it's a mistake, JD. I think that's something that people have been wondering about, and I think Joe is very sensitive to that, because it makes it sound like this is Bob Myers. They haven't even made him an offer, so people have wondered about that. I think it was important to him to make sure fans know, no, we appreciate him and we want him to stay. And Ray thinks that may have something to do with the fact that Joe Lacob wants other teams to know, hey, we want to keep this guy. So, as you're sitting there salivating, if you're another team, no, we plan to keep him. So I don't think it was a slip up. I think he was sending a message maybe to other teams and to the fan base, hey, no, just to make sure fans know we appreciate what Bob Myers has done and we want to keep him.
888-957-9570. That's where George in Los Altos checks in here on Warriors This Week with JD and Whitey on a Saturday morning. What's going on, George?
Hey, fellas. A couple of just observations and opinions of mine. I think all Joe was doing when he was interviewed most recently by saying that, we have offered and we want to keep him and he's a great negotiator. He's posturing. I think that's all he's really doing, and Bob is doing the same thing. But if I were Bob, what would be more important to me wouldn't be becoming the highest paid GM in the NBA. I'll take less money, but I want equity in the team.
Yeah.
I want a small percentage of ownership in the Golden State Warriors. That's what I want. That's what I would ask for if I were him. What are we worth? $7 billion, you guys? Is that about right? $5-6 billion?
Yeah, I think. Maybe even $8. At that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, and Joe isn't 100% owner. Obviously, you'll have to get the approval of the other owners, but he is majority owner. Think about what even 2% of the Golden State Warriors is worth, or 5%. If I were Bob, that's what I would want. I'll take less money, but I want a piece of the team.
Thanks for the call. And yeah, $7.5 billion per the latest Forbes valuation list, which I think came out maybe about a month ago, Whitey? Maybe a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, 7.5 is the number that I last saw on that.
That's a really interesting point, and it gets back to Masai Ujiri. As I said, Ray was saying he thought Masai Ujiri had a piece of Toronto. I'm just looking at his situation here. According to reports, he has equity-type elements in his contract, whatever that means. So I wouldn't be surprised. George is probably right, and because if you're Bob Myers, that's certainly would be you'd be entitled to ask for that. Ujiri's getting
now,
like $15 million. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Would you balk at that if you were Joe Lacob? Like, would that be something that's I don't know, and obviously everybody would have to be involved in that as well. All of the current owners would have to be involved in and accepting of that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily balk at it, but I wouldn't, jump to sign the deal either. Masai Ujiri, by the way, and I mentioned this again, who cares about Toronto, but this may have some bearing on what's going on here. He has some equity-like elements in his contract in Toronto, including earning bonuses based on revenues or some additional benefits based on the valuation of the team in his new arrangement, which I think he agreed to in the summer of 2021. So that could in some ways be a template for what, again, we're speculating, what Bob Myers is negotiating for with Joe Lacob and the Warriors.
Let's get Steve in San Francisco as we sneak one more in before the top of the hour. What's going on, Steve? You're on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, guys. I agree with George that a piece of this is equity. The other piece, I think, is length of contract. My guess is that Bob is saying, look, I need a contract that extends me from here into when we're good with the young team. So whatever that is, 5 years, 6 years. And Joe, whether he's saying it or not, to Bob is saying, well, Kirk is ready, and we can give you a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal, but not a 6-year deal. So the combo, it's not current compensation. I seriously doubt that. I bet you it's equity and length of contract.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I don't know that Bob would necessarily want a 6-year deal. Now 2 is probably a little bit too short, but I think anywhere in the 3 to 4 range is about normal. I would say at this point.
I think the fact that Kirk Lacob could get the job is also that makes it a little, from a PR standpoint, a little tricky for Joe Lacob, right? I mean, he's entitled; he can do what he wants. But if Bob Myers leaves and then he makes his son the GM, some fans are going to look at that and go, "Oh, well, I see how it is. After all, Bob Myers done." So that would not necessarily be fair at all. But I think that's also why we're hearing Joe Lacob try to get out in front of this. He's aware of that possible perception, and he wants to do everything he can to avoid people starting to think that that's part of this process.
888-957-9570. We'll circle back to that coming up at the top of the hour because Anthony Slater was on the station and he was asked about that, and he gave a little bit of insight into the Kirk Lacob component as well. So we'll hear from Slater as Warriors This Week rolls on. We got 2 hours to come here on a Saturday on 95.7 The Game.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
When cold symptoms keep you up, try Vicks NyQuil Severe for max strength nighttime relief. Just 1 dose of Vicks NyQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Get some rest and feel better with Vicks NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, sore throat, stuffy nose, fever, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed.
I bet you folks are glad to be done with your shopping. Hopefully, all your gifts went well. But there's one last store to visit, this time just for yourself. Your chance to get one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TVs at a crazy low price. Where? At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. A great way to end the year. If you don't check out these deals at Video Only, you'll be sorry.
So yes, it was after midnight and the glue on your kid's mission project refused to dry. But once everything was finished, you realized the smooth white and terracotta make this piece of history beautiful. CertaPro Painters has good news. Your home paint project doesn't have to come with the frustration and panic of your child's 4th grade project. Skip the stress and still end with the look you love. To get your painting project started, go to CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. License information available at CertaPro.com.
Come into Friedman's Appliance and see the full line of Fisher & Paykel's indoor and outdoor products. Experience them in person in live vignettes, including their famous dish drawer dishwasher and unique sizes of refrigeration designed to fit seamlessly into your kitchen space. Fisher & Paykel products deliver perfect results with exceptional design and performance. And for a limited time, receive up to a $2,000 rebate when you purchase qualifying Fisher & Paykel appliances from Friedman's Appliance. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or online at friedmansappliance.com.
No H2O is the leading waterless mobile auto detailer in the Bay Area, offering a full range of detailing services. No H2O comes to your home, business, or wherever is most convenient for you and gives your car a great wash with no water. No H2O auto detailing is ultra convenient and gets great scratch-free results for your car. And remember, no water is used. Call Brian today at 925-238-8182, 925-238-8182, or visit them at noh2owalnutcreek.com.
Listen for the latest ski, snow, and road conditions with the Toyota Tahoe Report every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday throughout this snow season with Johnny Mosley. Brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
So, you've unwrapped a new device this year. Don't forget to take your favorite stations and podcasts with you.
No matter where you go.
With the Odyssey app.
Stream the music and shows you love on your phone, tablet, laptop, smart speaker, and more.
Create an account to save your favorites across devices.
And jump back to the moments that matter most with Rewind.
Your favorite local listening. Available when and how you want.
Download the Odyssey app today to get started.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, this is Keenan Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. None of y'all told me that AutoTrader has millions of new and used cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling. No one told me that with AutoTrader, a dealer can deliver cars to my home or that I could shop by price on AutoTrader. No one. Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over. Finally, it's easy. AutoTrader.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2. John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give us a call or shoot us a text, as we are with you here until 1 o'clock on 95.7 The Game. Taking your phone calls and your text messages, talking about the Warriors as they set to take on the Magic tonight here on 95.7 The Game. Game 7 of the 8-game homestand. Man, the Warriors seems like they've been around for a long time, but they have been. It's been 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks since this homestand started, and it will go through Tuesday as the Warriors take on the Suns. Just kind of setting everything up. Good news on the injury front as Andre Iguodala set to make his season debut tonight for the Warriors, and Andrew Wiggins set to play as well as the Warriors return to Steph Curry on the horizon. So getting healthier at the right time. It looked like the Warriors had taken this thing about as far as they could take it, and 5-1, really good on this homestand, but it felt like they were fatigued, and being shorthanded was starting to take a little bit of a toll on the Warriors in that Pistons game, which they ultimately lost. I found myself thinking, all right, they need to start getting their guys back if they're going to continue to win games, and it looks like that's going to be the case with a couple of wings back in the fold.
Yeah, and the Warriors, after the game with the Suns Tuesday, they will have completed half of their regular season schedule, which, again, I keep saying that because I'm having a hard time believing it, because it seems like they just started, and yeah, they've moved up to 6th in the West because the Clippers and the Suns continue to take it in the shorts. Both those teams lost last night. Both those teams, JD, have lost 5 in a row. I wanted to ask you before we get back to all the really interesting things going on.
Man. The Clippers are gutless. The Clippers are just gutless. I mean, they go into Denver with everybody and they get throttled, and then it's like, oh, second of a back-to-back, so everybody gets the night off. They get throttled again.
And guess who also got hurt last night, who had to leave the game in the second quarter for them? Chris Paul. So they've really fallen on hard times. It looks like maybe an older team, and maybe they're just starting to unravel a little bit. I don't know. They got some young players, but some of the young players are hurt too. But I wanted to ask you before we get back to everything going on with the Warriors and Joe Lacob and the Bob Myers situation, what did you make of the last few games that Klay has had? Because you and I have had many conversations with the smartest listeners in radio on this show about Klay. Can he ever get back to where he was? And he's struggled so much. He was hunting shots, and he's played so well on this homestand. The last couple of games, I know you were talking about how he seems freer now with Steph out. It's like, Klay, you got to shoot, but he's been close offensively to the old Klay. And I think at times, I mean, a 50-point game, that looked like the old Klay out there.
Yeah, and look, we've talked about it. He still has it in the bag. It's just a matter of it's not going to happen as frequently. I think that's the thing that has been, maybe a sign of some optimism over the last week and a half to 2 weeks is the fact that he has had a few more of the bigger games, consecutively. Over the course of a homestand. We'll see. I mean, I also think there's a freedom to knowing that your team needs you in a big way, and that meaning that you're going to get a lot of shots. And like I said it to Steiny the other night. I think it was, I can't remember if it was the Atlanta game or the Detroit game because they are running together a little bit, but I think it was the Atlanta game, and it was the notion that, hey, Klay's 1 for 6 to start the game, and maybe it was the Detroit game, but he was 1 for 6 to start the game, and I said to Steiny, well, you know what? Klay has got to be feeling good tonight because he knows, given the context and the composition of this team right now, he can take 20 more shots if he wants to.
You made that point last week on the show, and I thought it was a great point. Yeah,
and nobody cares. And so he can. There isn't this pressure to have to do it because he knows he's going to get so many opportunities. Now, that being said, he has gotten hot in games late. The Detroit game that he started off early, he's just been hot and scored 54 in games as well. So they have needed it. I think it's a great sign. The only question I would have is, once they get everybody back, can he now fit his game back into the way that he had fit it after they had that team meeting, where he really was conscious of not feeling he had to take every single shot, keep the ball moving, pass up some good shots to get great shots. Like, as the Warriors get their players back, Whitey, that to me has to be the focus for Klay Thompson, to play more like that Klay that we saw for about a 3-week stretch before the injuries started to pile up on that most recent road trip.
I agree. Two more things I thought were very significant. He talked, and I think it was after the 50 burger, he talked about how he had been taking too many shots, leaning off one leg. And, anybody who knows Klay and remembers that classic jump shot, just watching him shoot when he was in his prime was just aesthetically pleasing. It's like, that's how you shoot a jump shot. So to see him become aware of how much he'd been leaning, maybe favoring the injured legs, that's really encouraging. And also the fact that after the last game to Detroit, that he defended Jordan Poole the way he did and talked about how that's going to happen. He's a young guy. That's why I gave him the ball. He's a playmaker. Same type of thing happened to me when I left the building in my uniform after missing free throws. So that kind of leadership, too, taking a younger guy under his wing like that, I thought that was really impressive to see.
888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason here. Warriors this week on 95.7 The Game. The other thing we've been talking about is Bob Myers and his contract situation, and Joe Lacob's interview with Tim Kawakami of The Athletic on the TK Show, Tim's podcast, going back a couple of days ago, and a number of different things that were addressed, including this contract situation for Bob Myers. Joe got into the young players and the payroll. We'll have some other clips from that coming up as well. And also I mentioned Anthony Slater's response to the notion that Kirk Lacob is in line to become the next GM. Anthony Slater was on the station, Damon and Ratto, and here's what he had to say about Kirk Lacob and what he's heard about him.
This is not something that, I've discussed at great length. This is not some deeply sourced conversation I'm about to have, but I would think Kirk Lacob to me profiles as the owner in waiting, not the GM in waiting, the next Joe Lacob. He's got his hands on some of the basketball side, but Kirk Lacob has his hands on a lot of the business side too. So I'm not like, maybe that's what would, materialize where Kirk would step in if Bob, like you said, for any reasons left. But I would predict no. I would predict that Kirk just remains in a very powerful position in the organization, which he currently has, and, will be the successor to his father whenever that comes.
So there you go. Your thoughts on that, Whitey?
The key there is that even Anthony Slater says, yeah, if Bob were to leave, Kirk would probably, there's a good chance he'd slide in there. But it's interesting because that would belie the notion that Joe Lacob's desire to have his son be the GM is in any way driving what's going on between Joe Lacob and Bob Myers. And I think Joe Lacob is understandably very sensitive to that, and that's encouraging too. Yeah, you just can't replace Bob Myers with a guy who's never been a GM before. So it sounds like the owner recognizes that. So that too, to me, is encouraging.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there are other, as Joe Lacob mentions, the depth. There are a lot of other members of the organization that would be better equipped to step in.
Yes.
I mean, at this point, whether it's Larry Harris or Mike Dunleavy, there are other options available at that point.
Yeah. So I think it's real important for Joe Lacob that people don't start assuming that, he wants to get rid of Bob Myers because he wants his son in there. It just doesn't appear to have any merit. There's no reason to believe that that's any significant part of this negotiation with Bob Myers.
Let's get to Austin in San Jose next on 95.7 The Game. Hey, what's going on, Austin?
Hey, good morning, guys. J.D. White, it's good to talk to you guys as always. A couple comments just from my years in business and just seeing it as a corporation perspective. C-level decisions like Bob Myers and how they play out. I was a little surprised. Two comments, though, on that. I was a little surprised that Joe did come public with the fact that he had put two contracts in front of him. That to me was a little odd that he had to say that. I don't know whether that was a negotiating tactic or whether he was trying to maybe kind of deflect some of the questions that you guys said around, hey, how come you guys aren't offering Bob a I think that was kind of interesting. Second comment I would make would be on the one that nobody's talked about, though, is the Weissman comment. And he said, hey, I wasn't the only one that wanted James Weissman. I thought, that's interesting that he's making that comment now. So I kind of wanted to know what you guys thought about that. It hit me kind of funny. I kind of thought he was saying, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'm not the only one that wanted him here. So anyway, give me your guys' perspective. Thanks, guys.
Well, there is certainly a perception, Whitey, that was Joe Lacob's pick above all. I mean, I always think you have to go back to the time of the draft for any pick and like what was being said at the time. And I think a lot of it over time becomes revisionist history. But going back to that draft again in November of 2020, there was a pretty strong consensus that Wiseman was the player with the highest upside among he and LaMelo Ball. I thought like it was people thought LaMelo Ball was the wild card pick for the Warriors. Now, again, how much of that was position of need versus best player available versus not wanting to upset Steph Curry or to a much lesser extent Jordan Poole, who really was owed nothing at that particular point in time, given the fact that he was coming off of a poor rookie year in some tough circumstances. But I do think, and I can understand where Joe would think, hey, I'm the one that takes it in the shorts, publicly as far as Wiseman if Wiseman doesn't work out. But we had an organization, a room full of guys that thought that he was the pick.
I'm with Austin on that, and I agree with everything you said, but I'm with Austin. I noticed that too. Because if you really have faith in somebody, if the perception is that he's your guy, whether that perception is right or wrong, it appears to exist. So if you love the guy and he's playing well, you're fine with that. People think I picked him, that's fine. For him to come out like that and say, hey, I believe, maybe we'll play it, but I believe he says, look, I have to correct you on something. It wasn't just me. For him to feel the need to say that, to me, it reflects where the organization and ownership is on James Wiseman right now. We can go around and around on it. Whitey, you're a hater. All that. That's not the point. The point is, how does the owner feel about James Wiseman right now? And I'm with Austin, the fact that he felt the need to correct that perception. And then also what else he had to say about Wiseman and his future. That's why I mentioned this earlier. To me, I think there's a better chance that the Warriors would be open to trading Wiseman this year than I thought there was going to be. And it depends on what you'd get back, and it may not happen. Not that they're in a hurry to do that. But I thought that was fascinating that Joe Lacob felt the need at this time to say, it wasn't just me.
Yeah, it is interesting, but wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know about you, Whitey. And yeah, we'll play the cut here coming up momentarily. But to me, it's like, wouldn't you, like, I would assume that in the draft process, everybody was involved in it. And it wasn't just Joe. Like, I never sit back and think, you know what, Bob Myers and, Larry Harris and the scouting department, and you know what, they all wanted LaMelo. And I came in as Joe Lacob, the owner, and said, I want James Wiseman. And then they I don't, like, that's just not how they do things. Like, everybody has their opinion, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's this. I never looked at it like it was that way, if that makes sense.
Two things can be true. I'm with you. If I understand what you're saying, I think I do. Is that an organization like the Warriors, at some point, everyone's going to come together and say, okay, this is the guy we're picking. I would think that it's very rare that you're going to pick somebody and you've got somebody of some significance in your front office or coaching staff who's publicly going to go, you could pick him if you want, but I wouldn't. I don't know that happens. But the thing is,
well, let's just say there was a 5-person vote, right? And it was, my guess is it probably was 4-1. And again, I don't know that's exactly how it looks out, but I would imagine there was a consensus that Wiseman was the pick. Like, I don't see a scenario where, and I think Joe's telling you, hey, there wasn't a scenario. There was at least one other person or other people that said Wiseman is the guy. But to me, I don't see this. Hey, if there's 4 decision makers that all vote LaMelo, and then Joe Lacob comes in and says, well, I want Wiseman, so it's going to be Wiseman.
Well, one of the things that has fueled this, and again, this is speculation, and this is not solid, but it is one of the reasons people are not sure what happened, was the whole thing about LaMelo, and there's video, LaMelo holding his hand up like, I'm going to be the second pick, and Jalen Rose saying, oh, yeah, they told him he was going to be the second pick. Now, Jalen Rose could be totally wrong, but that was out there publicly. So if you're a Warrior fan, you have to wonder, well, what really happened there? Also, given that the Warriors don't usually draft centers, that high in the draft, they find their centers other ways, and James Wiseman was so raw, I think it's fair to wonder how much objection there was or how much pushback was that on the pick. We will never know, but that's why I think it's fair to wonder, was everybody really from the get-go on board, or did some people anticipate that the Warriors would end up where they are now with James Wiseman, which is he's not developing as quickly as they liked. He doesn't seem to understand what they want of him defensively, and now they got to pay him a lot more money than they probably would like to.
Let's go ahead and hear the clip from the TK show, Joe Lacob's interview with Tim Kawakami of The Athletic, as Joe mentioned the draft process as it related to Wiseman.
I want to correct something for you and our fans. Our entire front office and head coach wanted to draft James Wiseman. Mm-hmm. We were universal in that regard. I know people like to make up stuff. We all loved him, and I think we all are still very high on him. The question will be, what do we have to do with roster? How important is winning today versus 2 years from now? We have to balance all that, and we have to balance financials. So I think there's a lot of ways this thing could go. But as of right now, I think I'm still very, very positive of the young man. And in fact, all of our young players. And I think we have a great roster too.
All right. So entire front office and coach. So there you go. It was even more blunt than I had remembered it from listening to it yesterday.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'll take him at his word. But even if we do that, fascinating that he says, okay, we still think he could be good, but hey, we got a lot of things to consider. And I appreciate his honesty. Don't get me wrong. But when he says we got financial considerations, we got to consider how good to be this year as opposed to next year or the year after. So that's really, to me, a fascinating window into how the owner is seeing the James Wiseman situation right now. Forget about, who wanted what or who might be to blame if it doesn't work out. Right now, the owner basically is saying, we love him, but hey, I think it doesn't even say this could go a number of ways. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on here as a trade deadline approaches.
No, it is for sure. And I think the financial component is a bigger part of it than maybe meets the eye, because you look at James Wiseman and his contract.
I agree.
And
12.1. Well, no, I agree.
Yeah.
12.1 million times the luxury tax. Yeah.
Exactly, moving forward here. And so does that become money that would be better spent on a player, assuming if you're going to spend it, is that money better spent on a player that can help you more now if you're going to spend that money? I don't see a scenario, and look, at some point, and I know the financials were addressed and the $400 million payroll and what would have to happen for the Warriors to make money as far as the basketball side. Like, all of those things were asked and answered, and maybe we'll play some of that coming up here as well. But, as you just look at Wiseman and moving forward, I mean, there may be not spending that money on him at some point could make the most financial sense and the most basketball sense.
Right. And I think that's basically what Joe Lacob said. He used different words, but I think that's basically what he said. You and I have had the discussion, would you trade Wiseman this year for a guy who helps you this year, but maybe isn't a great player. And I think you've been of the mind that I don't want to do that. And maybe you're right. I think most people would probably agree with you. But where they are now is you could kill two birds with one stone if you did that. You bring somebody in who can help you now more than Wiseman, and then you also are freed up from having to pay Wiseman next year, which normally you wouldn't mind, except you've got these massive financial obligations to players that you know you can rely on more than him. So that's what makes it such a prickly situation for them.
I just wouldn't want to end up with a rental. Like, to me, if you want to move the money around, like, and basically trade Wiseman, and you're bringing in a younger vet that you think could help you for the next couple of years, or somebody that you would want to be able to re-sign and bring back, like, I would be open to that. What I wouldn't be necessarily open to is using that as a means to trim payroll, and in essence, all right, going to bring in a rental player, and then the money just goes away. And I get it. Maybe that to me, that's not making the most of the value of having the number 2 pick at that point. Like, it would almost be a sunk cost. Or now some would say if you win a championship, if the player that you get helps you win another championship, and then that player goes away, then who cares at that point in time?
Right. And it really hinges on what they think of him. Again, we go round and round. I think this, callers call in. We all have, our opinions, but it really hinges on where the organization sees him right now. If they have enough people right now, they'll look at that and say, he's not going to be the guy we thought. Maybe it's not his fault. Then maybe they're more willing to do that. But if there's still a lot of people there that still feel like, this guy he can reach that potential, then they're going to be less likely to do that.
And a lot of people already on the text line, hey, the Warriors need more size. I mean, that seems to be the text we get the most of on these Saturday mornings, is especially when the Warriors lose, and especially when they lose to a younger athletic team in, like the Pistons. Although, again, a younger athletic team in Memphis, the Warriors were able to ramp it up and do enough to get the win, and we've seen them be able to do that in playoff series as well.
If Wiseman were further along, we know why he's not further along. A lot of reasons, some of them totally out of his control, injuries and a pandemic. If he were further along right now and he were a decent to solid defender, just think how much better the Warriors would be. So, and that was the plan for him to be there to this point. So I agree with that notion that, boy, they could use size, but I also have to say, and I've said this before and give you credit, because I was saying that last year. Other people were. That's for them to sort out. I know I was saying it. You said, I don't think they need it. You were right. They didn't have Wiseman. They didn't have that size, and they won a championship.
888-957-9570. We'll pause here. We'll come back. We'll get Derek and Richmond up first on the other side. We're rolling on, man. Halfway through, flying along here on a Saturday morning and on into the afternoon. It's Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Boy, am I glad to be done with my holiday shopping.
Oh, I know.
And now I just want to relax.
Me too. Well, except there's one more store we should check out.
Oh, no way.
Because this week, we can get a Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at an incredible price.
Really? Where?
At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. They're really cutting deals.
Because the holidays are over?
Yep. So this is our chance to get what we wanted for Christmas.
Are the prices really that good?
Yes. For 7 days they are. And Video Only has those top-rated models we were thinking about all on sale.
All right. The best stuff cheap is worth a trip.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
Hey, Dak Prescott here. Why do I choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because better sleep elevates my game. My Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps me fall asleep faster, keeps me cool, and effortlessly adjusts for my best sleep. That's more focus, more edge, and more highlights. And that means more wins for all of us.
The Queen Sleep Number 360 C2 smart bed is only $899. Save $200. Plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Ends Monday. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the NFL.
The Prophetic Matrix. Unlock the secret code to your destiny. A new revolutionary book by Michael John Toste. The first ebook to make history by being filmed in space. Discover your unlimited future. Get The Prophetic Matrix now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
From the beginning, Meriwest Credit Union was created to provide a brighter financial future for you. We work hard for our members because they're our greatest strength.
MiraWest worked for me when I needed an auto loan for my first car.
When I need to make a mobile payment, MiraWest works for me.
Put our premier savings account to work for you, now paying up to 25 times the national average. MiraWest Credit Union, working for you today, tomorrow, together.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1966. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
95.7 The Game is an equal opportunity employer, and we encourage local community organizations to refer qualified applicants to us. You can receive The Game and Odyssey job vacancy information by contacting Human Resources at 415-765-4011 or by emailing sfhr@odyssey.com.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs. You used to associate crickets with silence. But since you bought a house in the suburbs, you know crickets hate silence. If any other creature realized rubbing its legs together made a piercing, high-pitched noise, they might think, maybe I won't do that. Constantly. All night long. Luckily, you can save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto. Now that's something to make noise about. Just not constantly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
1877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
With car prices at an all-time high, our donors are now getting highest receipts ever. Donate at carsforkids.org, and your car can be picked up tomorrow.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover. We'll help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, halfway through here on a Saturday, John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason, 888-957-9570. Warriors and the Magic tonight here on 95.7 The Game. It's a 5:30 tip-off as Warriors Live comes your way from Chase at 4:30. Game 7 of the 8-game homestand. Whitey, what do you say we get to some phone calls? You good with that?
I'm good to go, JD. Looking forward to it.
All right, let's do Derek in Richmond up first here, as promised on Warriors This Week. Hey, Derek.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Well.
Good, Derek. What's going on in Richmond?
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I don't understand why these professionals would think that Wiseman was better than LaMelo. And to me, knowing that Curry and Klay with their injury history, LaMelo could easily step in from them because they were injured. And with Wiseman's injuries, why would anyone want him? If Steve Kerr can't take care of him, why would anyone in their right mind say, okay, we'll take him? It just doesn't make sense with the only reason why I could think anyone wouldn't want to deal with LaMelo was, his dad was a character. But outside of that, to me, it's a no-brainer. Me as a couch potato watching people play basketball, it was a no-brainer. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate the call. I mean, Derek is not alone. That's the one thing I will say. And look, over time, these drafts are judged. And, I mean, all you got to do is look at the Steph Curry draft, and that has worked out in the Warriors' favor based on, the teams that passed on him and what he went on to be. And I think the same could be true the other way. I just hope, and I've said this, and I think Joe Lacob echoed this to Tim Kawakami, I hope that the Warriors took the guy that they thought had the biggest upside and had the potential to be the best player available, as opposed to, well, our franchise player's a point guard and his dad's kind of a headache, and I don't know how this is going to fit with Jordan Poole, who may be on the come later, although, again, nobody knew that on November 18th of 2020. Like, I hope that it wasn't a position of need pick over best available talent pick, because that if you did that, it's an even bigger mistake.
Yeah, I'm sure that was part of it. That position of need was part of the decision. James Wiseman at the time, and the book's not closed on him. It still isn't, but he was so raw and so full of potential. I'll say this too about LaMelo. And by the way, did you see what Charlotte did in the first quarter last night against the Bucks? They scored 51 in the first quarter. But anyway, LaMelo, I had a hard time getting a read on him when he was in the draft because he'd played the year before in Australia, and he's just kind of screwing around. I mean, he had that funky-looking jump shot. Sometimes, you could see clips of him here and there where it's like he's not even trying to play defense. So I didn't think he necessarily should have been the second pick. Clearly, he's better now than I thought he was going to be at the time. But I can understand why teams would have been a little reluctant to take him with a second pick based on what we knew at that time. My guy, of course, in that draft was Halliburton, but at that time, too, probably was a little high to take him, too, JD, in all fairness.
Yeah, I know there were some reports that the Warriors could have potentially traded back and added somebody, and maybe at that point, if they really liked Halliburton, take Halliburton more in the middle of the top 10, around the 4 to 6 mark at that point. But again, that would have been taking a guard when you have your superstar as a point guard. And again, you knew that day. I also think, the pick illustrates the fact that the Warriors didn't waver. But remember, that day we were having the conversation in the hours before the draft, and it was literally, I think, about 2 to 3 hours before the Warriors were on the clock when the news broke of the significance of the Klay Thompson injury and the fact that he had ruptured the Achilles and that he was going to be out at least another full year at that point, and it wound up being much longer than that, about 14 or 15 months, I believe, from that point, about 14 months. So when you look at it, we were having the debate, hey, Klay's going to be out, so now does that give LaMelo even more credence to draft him? And the Warriors didn't go for that.
Yeah, and I don't think that his dad had much to do with the fact that some teams passed on him. It's a consideration, but
It shouldn't for the Warriors.
No, I don't think
if you're
that
a
was
high-level
really,
organization,
yeah, right.
like the Warriors are,
yeah,
you deal with it.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, whether it winds up being overblown or whether you wind up having to have some uncomfortable conversations, when you're a franchise that conducts themselves the way the Warriors have here over the last decade plus, you're not running from any of that because you think it's going to be too much for you to handle.
Yeah.
I would sure hope.
There were concerns about his shot, and to his credit, I know Charlotte, they wanted him to change his shot, and LaMelo said, no, I'm good. And he actually, he can make that little, so Bob Fitzgerald says, that little set shot, and there were concerns about his defense, but he's a really good player. So I think the Warriors' bottom line with Wiseman, above anything else, they were taking a big swing. They saw more potential there, and they're thinking our core is getting older. We've got a rare chance here. We're picking high with the success we've had. You normally don't have that. So let's roll the dice on somebody who could be really a dominant player. Looks like that's not going to work out. It still could, but that's what they took a big gamble there, and I think that applies to Kuminga as well. Let's take a chance here and try to get somebody with tremendous upside, and if anybody can help these players reach that upside, it's us. So, but still, the book's still open on Wiseman.
Let's go to Scott in San Mateo on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Scott.
Hey, guys. How's the day going?
Good. So far, so good. How are you doing?
Good, good. And I just wanted to say it's my favorite show on 95.7, so look forward to it every week. Hey, I'm a huge believer in you've got a year or two of the Curry, the Curry and Klay and Dre window, and you've got to win now. So I would throw all chips in to make it happen. The one point I wanted to make relative to what you were talking about right before the commercial break is last year they really got lucky missing the NBA's premier big men outside of Jokic, who didn't have his weapons. They didn't have to play, an Embiid. They didn't have to play a Giannis and Lopez. I know he was hurt. They didn't have to play DeAndre Ayton. My point is I think this year, if you look at their games they had against Milwaukee and Philly in particular, blown out by the size. I think they're going to need that extra big man, and I would throw all the chips in to make it happen because the window's short.
All right, thanks for the call. I just don't see a big man out there that's going to be playing a lot of minutes against any of these players, whether it's, Ayton and Embiid. I think Giannis is in his own category. I mean, I know they do play Giannis at 5, but at that point, I mean, it's probably going to be Draymond that's going to get the assignment in the biggest moments anyway. I think Wiggins is going to get that assignment as well. Although with Middleton and Holiday playing, then it becomes a little bit trickier as to how you divvy up who's going to guard who in those situations. But as far like the Warriors just don't fear Ayton, they just don't. Like they view their style of play as kind of kryptonite to him, and I think they view. Embiid is its own animal, but again, we're talking about an NBA Finals. If you're playing against Embiid, if you're in the NBA Finals, there's things that you can do to try and defend him at a level. I just don't think the big man. You need bodies, but you don't need somebody that's going to go toe to toe. That prototypical guy that you would match up mano a mano with any of those players.
I agree with Scott.
The true center.
Yeah, I understand your point. I agree with Scott. I think if there were a way realistically to get that player to just have him available, I think it's worth looking into. I just think it's nice to have that available to you. Remember last year, Bob Myers said, if we'd known Wiseman wouldn't be able to play, we might have gotten somebody. I remember him saying that. It turned out it didn't matter. That said, so I agree with Scott. That said, to your point, JD, I mean, in all fairness, I got to point out, they beat Jokic, who was the MVP last year for the second year in a row. They beat his team, and they do have a knack for forcing other teams' bigs off the floor with their shooting. And there's also this. We don't talk about it, in my opinion, enough, but Kevon Looney is having a great year. Now, it's not a great year in terms of huge numbers, but his numbers are up. And with what we expect from Kevon Looney and what he's giving the Warriors this year, he's having a great year. I believe, JD, either he does or until recently he did. He leads the NBA in assist-to-turnover ratio. So that's part of this, too. Kevon Looney, not that quiet. He just had 20 rebounds, followed that up with 15. Kevon Looney is doing a great job at center for the Warriors this year. Yeah,
they are more than comfortable with Kevon Looney starting out at on the true centers. Again, Giannis is somebody that plays center, but you've got other players on the roster that would have like there is no big man. Like James Wiseman isn't going to be guarding Giannis. That would never be in the car. Like Jakob Poeltl would not be guarding Giannis in the NBA Finals if push came to shove and those two teams wound up matching up against each other. It would be Draymond or it would be Wiggins, or it would be a combination of
Kuminga.
A couple of
Kuminga'd get a few shots at him, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Kuminga would definitely get some time, although probably not down the stretch in games against him. So I do think there are other options. I keep coming back to, if the Warriors look to add from the outside, what type of player would they look to add? And I feel like it would be a big that can shoot. It would be somebody more of the Otto Porter vein, somebody that, Anthony Lamb can shoot, but Anthony Lamb is really a 3-4. To me, it would be somebody that would be a 4-5 that could shoot. Think Porter or Bielitsa type, as opposed to thinking Jakob Poeltl or Miles Turner type.
I look at it a little differently, but I agree with you. I think there are a number of things that could help this team rather than looking for the player. What do we need? Size would help, and you might not get all these things in one player, but I agree. Size would help. Shooting would help. Anybody who can help you defensively, yes, bring him on board. And I think the type of player you describe, I don't know if he's out there, if he's available, but I think that type of player, a big who could shoot would fill those needs. But I look at it as, what do we need? There's a number of things we need. If we could find a guy who can give us a number of those things, or really a good deal of any one of those things, especially if he can help defensively, I'd be very interested in that player.
All right, he's Whitey Gleason. I'm John Dickinson, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give us a call or shoot us a text here. Xfinity Mobile text line open as well. We've had a lot of good text messages, including a bunch about size. The roster crunch, we're talking about the fact the Warriors have the 14 roster spots plus the two-way players. What do the Warriors do there? A lot of people on the text line saying, what about JaMychal Green? Does JaMychal Green find himself as maybe being somebody that could get cut? I don't think that would be the first choice necessarily. I think the Warriors would want to try to keep everybody, but how do you feel about JaMychal Green's safety and security on this Warriors roster between now and the end of the regular season?
I think JaMychal Green, they hoped he would provide some of the things you just described. He's not huge, but a bit of a big who can shoot, and he's had his moments, but he hasn't delivered that. So I'm wondering, and I have to look, you may know, JD, is there anything about his contract that would be beneficial to another team in a deal? There isn't that I know of, but that's something I'd be looking at, because I'd be looking to see if I can get something back. He would be part of a package I can send out if anybody would be interested. He just has not quite fit in here. And again, he's had his moments here or there, but overall, I think the JaMychal Green experiment this year with the Warriors has been a failure.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. He's set to be reevaluated. It really hasn't worked out to this point. I know they viewed him as somebody that they thought could be a playoff player, I think in part because he had played against them a couple of different times in the playoffs, and they had been impressed with him. I think, I go back to Steve Kerr taking the blame for saying he played him out of position, but at the 4 initially, remember they were running the Kuminga, JaMychal Green, Wiseman lineups at the beginning of the year off the bench. That didn't exactly go well, but I think at this point the biggest thing with JaMychal Green, to where you could overlook other things, would be if he was making the 3, and I think he's 26% from 3, I think it is what it was to this point this season. So that's not going to be good enough. And at this point, I think you would have to wonder how playable he would be in a playoff series. Should the Warriors make it and he be a part of it? Yeah, 26.5%.
26.5%. Yeah.
From 3-point range. So that's tough and not what the Warriors anticipated. I think, was it going to be 40? Probably not. I think the hope would have been, though, that it would have been closer to 35 than it's been. And you go back through some other years, he was 26.6 last year.
Yeah.
But you go back through, he has had a 39.9, 38.7, 41.3, 39.9 or 39-6 going back through the last few years with the Clippers. It just hasn't been there to this point with the Warriors. 888-957-9570. Jonathan in San Francisco is next here on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Happy rainy Saturday to you both. I just want to say, man, when it comes to the Warriors, I really have no worries. Talking about Bob and his contract, why would he want to start over somewhere else when he's here? Best ideal, best place in the NBA team. With the Warriors, no worries too when it comes to them. They still got more than half a season left to improve. And hey, with the emergence of Kuminga, that's another wing, two-way player right there, man. And they have more than enough defense. In the playoffs, they rebound as a team. They got enough offense offensively with the Splash Brothers and Pool Party. I kept on hearing people, we need a big man, we need a big man. Man, Looney is a loon dog. He's a big man, dude. Don't underestimate Looney, man. That guy is the man in the middle. With Draymond Green, and like I said, man, even Jerome and Anthony Lamb, they're emerging. We got more than enough. Hey, they just need to, keep improving, build on this, and, hopefully they'll be healthy and they're going to be all right. And before I go, if you guys will let me, because I'm kind of feeling my voice right now, I just want to say you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM, and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey station.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Jonathan!
We're gonna have to edit that. Start playing that back.
That's very well done.
It's like the Ray Ratto.
The Ray Ratto one. That sounded way better.
Yeah.
That's like the Ray Ratto legal, man.
Better. It's better than the Ray Ratto one. Thank you, Jonathan. The one I would quibble with one of the things I would quibble with there with Jonathan is the Warriors are fine defensively. It's hard to know what they are right now because they've been without their key players here. So who knows? But still, overall, I think they're 20th in the league in defensive rating, 15th in offensive rating. So I think if they're going to have a chance to actually compete for a championship, I do think they're still going to have to improve and just consistently play better at the defensive end.
Yeah, I think that's where it also translates to the road because home versus road has been a big part of the equation here. Defensively, the Warriors have been much more competitive on the home floor and statistically better, and teams really hadn't hit them for three-point makes. That was the one thing that was different in the game against Detroit among the length and the athleticism issues that the Warriors had with the Pistons. They also out-hit the Warriors from three, I think 16-15 overall, and shot a good percentage in doing so. So that, in conjunction with the athleticism and the youth and all of that, winds up being the different, 3-point game, and I think the Pistons ended up hitting one more three. So
that's correct.
That's something that
the
Warriors have been. Warriors have been holding teams to single digits in 3-point makes, or in 10-11 in terms of 3-point makes, and at home, I think the biggest part of the Warriors' success at home has been the 3-point differential. The Warriors have seemingly made a ton of threes in a lot of these games, and other teams just haven't in a lot of these games, and a lot of that is the fact that the defense has been much better for the Warriors at home. That's the thing they're going to have to pack with them on this next trip and show they can bring to the table.
I know Steiny made this point last week, but would have been nice to have Wiggins available against the Pistons because Bogdanovich had such a big game, but not to take.
Nobody could guard him.
No,
Warriors had nobody to guard him.
At the risk of taking us down a rabbit hole, I think it is worth, as long as we're talking about defense here, it's worth just a mention. A lot of people around the league now are talking about the fact that offense is better than it's ever been in the NBA. You got, let's see, teams are averaging about 114 points per 100 possessions, which is the highest level ever. And you've got, let's see, in 2013, there were 9 guys in the league, JD, who averaged 20 or more points a game. 2012, 2013, 9 guys. This year so far, do you know how many there are? It was 9 in 2012, 2013. This year so far, we haven't completed the season yet.
25?
43. 43 guys in the NBA who are averaging 20 or more. So scoring is just up all over the place. 3-point shooting, the take foul rule, lots of reasons, but a lot of teams have been struggling with their defense. Again, we mentioned it last night. The Bucks gave up 51 in the first quarter. So a lot of teams struggling at the defensive end this year.
Well, how much of it is really the fact that a lot of these games on a night-in, night-out basis just look like open gym games? I mean, they really do. And, I mean, you start looking at, well, why also are some of these records all jumbled up? It's not necessarily that there's these more talented teams. If anything, it's the fact that there are more teams, and I'm going to say it, that kind of go through the motions on a night-in, night-out basis, and that allows other teams to compete, and especially teams that are really good offensively to compete at a level higher than I think they really are overall as teams. I mean, to me, that's the reason why the Clippers are kind of dogs. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're you look at them and they're losing 5 in a row and everything that goes along with that. And they just kind of go through the motions, I think, on a lot of nights. I think Minnesota goes through the motions on a lot of nights. Utah doesn't play a lick of defense. The Kings don't play a lick of defense, but have been pretty good in late game situations to where they've beaten some of these other teams late that are equally as bad as they are defensively. So I think it's helped inflate their record a little bit. But I think all of those teams that I just mentioned, Sac, Portland, Utah, those teams are all better than I thought they would be. Well, why? Because they're able to win more games than you would have anticipated them being able to win because it's so offensive oriented. Now, you can win a lot more games just being good on offense than you used to because there are so few teams that actually care about playing defense consistently.
Defense, you played real basketball for a while like I did. Defense is hard. Defense is really hard. It's one of the hardest things, they have these lists. What's the hardest thing to do in sports? And I'm always surprised that, like closing out on a shooter before he dribbles, that should be on the list. It's just, my point is defense is hard. I agree with you. The three-point shot is changing the game, but also guys are making so many three-point shots now from so far out that the defense is just more spread out than ever. So you got more guys making long threes, which opens the floor. You got more guys now at the rim. It's harder than it's ever been to play defense, and that's a big part of it too. Defenses are just getting stretched to the point of, what can we do? These guys are shooting and making 30-footers. If we go out there, they get layups. So it'll be interesting to see how teams adjust defensively, and it'll also be interesting to see if that trend towards more and more offense continues when we get to the playoffs.
All right, he's Whitey Gleason. I'm John Dickinson. 888-957-9570. We got 2 hours in the books, another hour to come. Final hour of Warriors This Week on a Saturday. Straight ahead right here on 95.7 The Game.
Other banks go out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated. But Discover isn't like that. With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Here's to Prilosec OTC. Just one pill each morning and no heartburn all day. My holiday hero.
Prilosec OTC. One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
The new year is here. Time for a change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand IT field with My Computer Career. In just months. Already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus. And financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
For everything your business needs to make this year your year, Staples has you covered.
I need to organize all my papers and files from last year and the year before that.
Staples has you covered.
I need to clear clutter from my office and my home office and my home.
Staples has you covered with everything you need to get organized this year at amazing savings. Right now at Staples, get up to 50% off select file folders, file cabinets, file boxes, and storage bins. Make this year your year at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 1/28 in store only.
I bet you folks are glad to be done with your shopping. Hopefully, all your gifts went well. But there's one last store to visit, this time just for yourself. Your chance to get one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TVs at a crazy low price. Where? At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. A great way to end the year. If you don't check out these deals at Video Only, you'll be sorry.
car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
With car prices at an all-time high, our donors are now getting highest receipts ever. Donate at carsforkids.org, and your car can be picked up tomorrow.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Johnny Mosley here with the Saturday Toyota Tahoe Report. You're not going to want to miss this one at Palisades. It's going off up here. So grab your POW boards, jump in your Toyota, and get ready for some face shots.
Thanks, Johnny. Snow showers developing during the afternoon with highs near 35 degrees. Evenings will see periods of snow 3 to 5 inches expected. This report has been brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Check out Toyota's full lineup of mountain-ready all-wheel drive vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
Hour number 3, John Dickinson and Whitey Gleason.
Yeah.
Also our buddy Jonathan there with the legal ID, bringing us into
show
the
announcer,
12 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
Here on 95.7 The Game, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give us a call or shoot us a text. We're here until 1. We got a big day of Warriors basketball coming up here on 95.7 The Game, as I'll have Warriors live for you from Chase at 4:30. And then the Warriors and the Orlando Magic tip at 5:30. I'll have Warriors wrap-up for you as well after the game. It's Game 7 of the Warriors' 8-game homestand, and some good news on the injury front, Whitey, as Andrew Wiggins and Andre Iguodala both projected to play in
Very
this
exciting
game tonight.
I have a question for you. The Orlando Magic, have they finally served all their suspensions? Are they at full strength now after they had 11 guys or whatever it was suspended? after the brawl with the Pistons. I think they're all squared now. I think Mo Bamba's sick or something, but I think everybody has served all their suspensions.
Yeah, I was looking at the late. Who was the last one to do it? Was it Mo Wagner? Was the last one? I believe.
Yeah, I think he was the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So looking at the report for the Magic, they will be without Bol, who's in the health and safety protocols, and then that's it. They're going to be, and Chuma Okeke, who's actually had a couple of good games against the Warriors in the last couple of years, he's out with knee surgery as well. He's been out. So other than that, no, that's Bol health and safety protocols. And then other than that, no, it's just Okeke, who's out with the knee surgery, and Jonathan Isaac, who obviously has been out with a bad knee injury for quite some time.
But he could be back tonight, too. It's possible. And that would just be a cameo. But we may actually see some. I remember we talked about him a couple years ago, Jonathan Isaac. Is he a guy that might make sense for the Warriors? And he's had terrible knee issues. So be nice to see him back on the floor. But yeah, the big story, Andre Iguodala and Andrew Wiggins tonight.
Yeah, and looking at the Warriors side of things, Iguodala and Andrew Wiggins both probable, so likely to play. And then the Warriors still going to be without Steph Curry, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, and JaMychal Green, all ruled out still. But some good news on the Curry front. It sounds as if the game in San Antonio on the 13th is very much on the table for Steph to potentially return in. So some good news on that. And the Warriors weathering the storm here during this homestand without him, Whitey.
Yeah, and I know there's still going to be some question about the stability of the shoulder till he gets out there and actually plays. I know he's out. He scrimmaged yesterday, right? So that's good news. So it's kind of similar to last year about this time, because I think we're right around the 1-year anniversary of Klay's return. Of course, Klay missed a lot more time than Steph, but this time of year, I know you talk a lot, JD, about the dog days of the season. We're just about there. So to have the team having this really good homestand, and then you're getting guys back, including Steph coming back, really gives you a lot of momentum heading into the second half of the season and the new calendar year.
Yeah, on January 9th, the date that Klay came back, 1-year anniversary of that coming up here on Monday. 888-957-9570. Let's get back to the phones here, and that is Will in Moss Beach next on Warriors This Week here on 95.7 The Game. Thanks for giving us a call, Will. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to talk about Warriors defense and how excited I am to see this team healthy finally. You got Draymond, potential defensive player of the year. Two-way Wiggs, of course. Kuminga's point of attack defense has grown leaps and bounds, and we're throwing in Iguodala. I'm not worried about defense. I think we're going to be okay on that front, and just looking forward to a healthy second half of the season, and I don't think anyone's going to stop us.
Yeah, there are some reinforcements coming on the defensive end, that's for sure. And Wiggins coming back. You mentioned the fact that he really could have helped him against the Pistons the other night. I think he helps him a lot against this Orlando team. It's kind of a similar matchup, honestly, against Orlando compared to Detroit. And again, another team that beat the Warriors at pretty close to full strength on the road back there late October, early November.
Yeah, that was one of those losses that the Warriors had their veterans on the floor at the end of the game, and they couldn't bring it home, which at that time was one of those puzzling things. But as far as Will's point about the defense, sometimes it's hard to know what's going on defensively. Are they not rotating properly? You see a guy get beat to the basket. Obviously, he wasn't guarding his man, but sometimes you don't know what the problem is. The Warriors have had a problem all year long, so it's easy to keep track of this. Now they're doing here. They just, as we know, JD, and Steve Kerr talks about this, they have to defend without fouling. So that's a good barometer. Are they defending well? Well, are they defending without fouling? That's been a point of emphasis since the beginning of the season. If they're going to play better defense the rest of the way, I agree with Will, they have a chance to do that. That's going to be an area in which they're going to have to be consistently steady.
888-957-9570. From Will, we go to Dwayne in Berkeley on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
What's
good? Good.
Listen, thanks for taking my call. My comment is about James Wiseman and how much I hate hearing all these questions about him. Unfortunately, he's on a team that's never used the center. Haven't used the center since Bogut, who knew how to play center on his own. Kerr's never played on a team with a dominant center. He never coached a team with a dominant center, was part of a team with a dominant center. I think that is partially what's retarding Wiseman's growth. And then they put him in, and they don't play that way. So I feel bad about the guy, and I just hope that they give him time, because I think he'll develop into a real force in the NBA. He's raw. Give him time. But he would do better, actually, had he been drafted on another team that knew how to use a center and develop a center.
I think part of that, and thanks for the call, to me, Whitey, it's more about him being drafted by a team that could just allow him to play and take his lumps and not have to really worry about his poor play or his development as he plays poorly affecting wins and losses with championship expectations. To me, it's more about that than it is about a team that knows how to use a center or this and that. To me, it's more, if he was playing for Orlando, you threw him out there every night and you were gonna lose most nights and you didn't really care because that's just part of your development process, or Detroit, then you could deal with it. I think it's more the lack of having to fit your game in the context of winning that would allow him maybe a little bit more freedom.
I agree. I think if he were, and I think I may have made this point before on this show in recent weeks, but if he were on a bad team, James Wiseman were on a bad team, he might be averaging, 14 to 18 points a game, getting a lot of touches, and people would look at that and go, man, this guy's, wow, look at that. He's really coming along. But the problem's been defensively, as we all know, and here's a issue with James Wiseman. There are a lot of guys that have been taken that play center that have been taken later in drafts and in drafts since the Warriors got Wiseman. Walker Kessler comes to mind. This guy, Mark Richards on Charlotte. These are guys that no one thought they were going to be dominant. No one thought no one said that. They're way better than James Wiseman right now. They're much more consistent. They're solid. So that's whether it's because of the Warriors, he doesn't fit their style, or it's because of the pandemic or the injuries, or any combination. He's way behind where ideally he would be at this point, to the point where there are guys that with much lower pedigrees, if I don't know if that's the right term, less pedigrees, that are way better than him. So that's why Joe Lacob, when he said to Tim Kawakami, he said, we love him, but we have to make a decision now. You can wait and wait and wait and wait, given what you have to pay him next year. A decision on him, are we going to hitch our wagon to him going forward or not? They're going to have to make that tough decision soon. And to this point, they're giving him chances. He just has not played well.
No, and he started to play a little bit better, and this has been another thing that he's had to deal with, unfortunately, in his career. I go back to 2 years ago where there were two different points in that season, Whitey. One around the middle of January where Wiseman started to play a little bit better, and one in early April when Wiseman started to play a little bit better. And both times he started to play a little bit better, he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like this, to a certain extent, this is the third time really that's happened in his young career. And it doesn't sound like this ankle sprain is serious, but it's serious enough to where it's going to keep him out at least 2 weeks now, because he's not going to be reevaluated again until the Warriors are set to go on the road trip on Thursday. And he sprained it on December the 30th. So at that point, that's 2 weeks. And so you look at, he was starting to fit into the rotation a little bit. JaMychal Green was out. There were minutes carved out for him. And he was starting to do, I think, to a greater extent, some of the things that would allow him to get more playing time. And now he's hurt. And now you have to wonder, how much does that set him back once he's healthy? Does he go right back into the rotation? I think the answer is probably not. Does that mean now that they have to send him back to the G League to get him ramped back up and confident again to be able to contribute? There's this cycle with James Wiseman as far as the injury bug, I think, which has been unfortunate at different points. And I think this could be, to a lesser extent than the first two, another example of that, unfortunately, which just means you're going to be able to count on him less for this season.
Great point. And I know we've got to get back to the phones, but real quick, again, I would love for James Wiseman to be a great player. Truly. I have nothing against him. People say I'm a hater. To me, JD, the caller Dwayne, appreciate him listening. Appreciate it very much. He used the term dominant. To me, a dominant James Wiseman. To me, that's like that right now. That's not even realistic. I mean, maybe down there, maybe, but I know when he was drafted, he could be a dominant center. To me, when you look at James Wiseman right now, I don't think it's realistic to look at him in terms of maybe he'll be dominant. Can he be a consistent, serviceable to really good player defensively? Maybe, but dominant center, to me, it's not even on the radar, JD. You may disagree, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's realistic right now.
I mean, maybe if we're talking about down the line, I mean, if we're talking about 2-3 years from now, 3-4 years from now, 4-5 years from now, I mean, possibly. I mean, Joel Embiid had injuries and wasn't dominant. I'm not saying he's going to be Embiid, but then Embiid went on to be like I don't know what James Wiseman's going to look like as a player when he's 25 or 26, but the one thing that I am a little more confident in by the day is the Warriors may not be the team that waits around to find out.
Right.
And I think that's where, again, because of the money that he would be making for next year and the potential impact as it pertains to winning, to use what Joe Lacob had to say, you can't wait around forever.
Right.
And I think the Warriors are getting closer to a decision point on Wiseman as well. Scott in Oakland next on Warriors This Week. Hey, Scott.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Jordan Poole criticism after the Pistons game and the way that the Warriors organization handled it. Jordan Poole is terrible at closing out quarters in games, but it's obviously the coaching staff. It's obvious the coaching staff wants him to learn that. They're giving him the chance. And what I noticed is when that criticism came to the head, and you heard the media kind of starting to go after him, the organization, from players all the way up to management, really rallied around him. And that says a couple things. One is that they value him, but also that's the way they operate. They did that with Klay Thompson when the criticism was justified. They did that with Draymond Green when the criticism was justified with the punch. They did it with Kevin Durant when he was playing his games. And so I'm impressed with their focus, and I am, top to bottom.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, that is a good point. Go ahead, Whitey.
The Warrior culture really shone in the wake of Jordan Poole's latest gaffe, if you will. I admit I was one of those members of the media that looked at that and said, oh, my goodness, that's 3 games in a row where he's made a really potentially crippling turnover at the end of a game. He also had one, I think, at the end of the Utah game that people forget, where he had the ball at the top of the key with both hands and he started to throw a pass. Maybe it was one hand and it slipped out. So he has had a bad habit of those. To me, those are bad when they happen consecutively. It is true. The Warriors rallied around him. I mentioned earlier the fact that Klay came out and said, I told him, hey, you're a playmaker. And it's also true, as Steve Kerr said, we don't win these games without the way he's playing. But to me, that's got to stop. I mean, bad turnovers, unforced errors at the end of close games, 3 games in a row. Yeah, he's got a chance to be a really good player, but he's not going to be a very good player if he can't put a stop to that. I'm sorry, JD. That's a tough look.
Well, and it is a tough look, but I also, and I know a lot of people came down his road, but this is the perfect opportunity for him to try and learn how to get better in those situations, because if Steph Curry's playing, he's probably not playing at the end of those games. And if he is, he certainly isn't going to be the primary ball handler on the court in the clutch situations. And Wiggins is part of that too, right? Steph and Wiggins are going to be getting the ball. Clay's going to be getting the ball. Poole may get it, but he's not going to get it necessarily where he's got it out at the perimeter and it's, all right, Jordan, go make a play. If he does, it's going to be in the context of the offense where the defense is being pulled in all these other directions, and it's a little bit easier, I think, for him to make a move. I also, though, where would the Warriors be? And I'm going to sound like I'm Steve Kerr, but where would the Warriors be without Jordan Poole on this homestand? So I thought it was a little nitpicky to be coming down his road because, and I know he had the turnover he got away with, a couple of them in the Atlanta game, got away with them, had the one in the final 10 seconds against Detroit. Game ends up going into overtime. It negates, the Klay 3, which ended up being negated by the Saddiq Bey 3. But it just, what I'm getting at, Whitey, is these are him being the lead dog in some of these games. It's I'm okay with it. Like Steph Curry committed turnovers when he was a young player and he was growing. I know that's something Steiny pointed out. Like when you speak about development, that's development. Like development is sometimes failure and having to learn how to respond. Like, I'm not worried at all about Jordan Poole. I if anything, I feel like he's come on over the last couple of weeks when the Warriors have needed him to come on over the last couple of weeks as a primary scorer with Steph and with Wiggins out.
I just think both things can be true. I agree with you, and there's no way they win these games without him. But the fact that he keeps trying the same thing, I mean, and an unforced, like the game's on the line, and I'm going to over dribble and then fall down. It's like, okay, that happened. Wait, you're doing it again? So that's what's troubling to me is the stubbornness there. But you're right. There's no way that they win these games without him. I would hope at some point, hopefully we're at that point now where he can recognize, all right, maybe that's not what I do in that situation again.
He's not, he is not a superstar player, and I think he's being in some ways held to a standard of being a superstar player. Like, they're asking him to fill the void of a superstar player and then holding him to the standard of, well, you can't be turning it over like that. And it's like, well, you know what? You're asking him to do something that is, I think, above what he should be being asked to bring to the table to this point. Look, I get it. The money part is I think some of this too. Hey, you're being paid like a $30 million player, not now, but next year. You've signed that contract. Like, I get that aspect of it, but I also think you got to give him a little bit of slack to be able to work through some of the issues. He gets his feet twisted. He rushes.
Yeah.
Like, I think his footwork at times, maybe he's not strong enough, so he's able to lose his balance on some of these plays where he's defended in a manner to dribble it off his foot or lose it. And look, the turnovers are bad. There's no way around that. But I think part of it is just, hey, this is a guy that's being asked to play like a superstar at the end of these games because the real superstar is out, and you got to live with it as you would live with it if a superstar player had the ball in his hands over and over and over and over and ended up with 3 to 6 turnovers and a couple in key moments. Like, watch any NBA game. Typically, the team that loses in a close game, their star doesn't make a play down the stretch or has a turnover or misses a shot down the stretch.
Well, he has everything you said is fair. He has committed a lot of turnovers. I think I don't want to say I have an issue with him, but in this instance, what I have an issue with, Jordan Poole, the money is fine. He's earned that, and I know Joe Lacob talked about that, but I don't expect more from him because he's making more money. I'd say tip of the cap, good for you. But it's just, in some ways, stylistically, he's a dribbler, and the Warriors are, we talk about all the time, Saint says player movement, ball movement. There are times when he over dribbles, and that's not really the Warriors style. You're right. He's learning. They don't win without him. They're lucky they have him. It is going to be a story, I think, when he has to go back to the bench. We'll see how that goes. But that's sometimes my issue with him is don't over dribble all the time. That's not the way the Warriors attack.
888-957-9570. Rich in Daly City next here on Warriors This Week. What's going on, Rich?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Good.
What's on your mind?
Right on. Happy New Year. Yeah, I think, I'm a diehard fan from, the Sleepy Floyd days. And, back then I would have, we were dreaming of someone like Wiseman. So I think it's unfair to put it all on him and put the salary woes on him because realistically, we've invested over $100 million on 3 players, and that's really where the salary issues are. It's unfair to put, the salary issue on Wiseman for next year when clearly that's not where the issue is. From my opinion, we really, we've invested time and money on the youth, and now they're starting to show that when given time, they're contributing. And so now's not the time to turn around and give up on them, trade them away. I think from the standpoint of size, that's changed in terms of the types of players we're seeing now. We're seeing 6'11" wing players now in the Mobley mode that, when we think of size, maybe that's where they need to look at, adding wing players that are taller, longer, not necessarily bigger. Wiseman could be a centerpiece, but that would be with the Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, J.K. lineup for the next couple generations. I think it would be short-sighted if we give up on them now when I think they're ready. And as we transition away from Klay and Dre, and of course keeping Curry with his extension, we'll have to make that commitment at some point. And I think
Oh, thanks for the call. 888-957-9570. I do think we were starting to see more contributions, Whitey, from the young players at the beginning of this homestand. We talked about it a lot last week. Really, of late, it's been more the two-way players, I think, that have helped the Warriors. Kuminga's been injured. We'll see how that impacts his season. Wiseman's been out. At some point, though, you have to cut somewhere in terms of the financial. And I assumed that it's maybe going to be one of the big three players or Draymond or Klay at some point. Really, Draymond has been the focal point of that. But if you want to keep those other players because you think they can still compete and contend for a championship, then you cut elsewhere. And you start to look at it's really in some ways just like any other business. You look at, hey, who are you paying the most that you're getting the least amount of production from? And I know it's different because it's a younger player and there is a high end that can be reached, but at some point in the cost-benefit analysis, I do think the Warriors, and Joe Lacob echoed this to Tim, at some point, with the money that they have going out, Wiseman could become the best area to save, and that could mean moving on to a different player that maybe could help him more in the short term.
Yeah, to your point about the young players, we know PBJ has really had some exciting moments on this homestand, but also in the loss to Detroit, Moses Moody in 15 minutes, he had 3 of 5 shots, he had 8 points, and he had 4 assists. So Moses Moody's showing us more and more promise as well. It's just very significant in terms of Wiseman. Again, forget what you think or I think or callers think. What does the team think? We had Bob Myers earlier this year talking about on the station about how, if we can get 1.5 of these 3 guys to be the player we hoped, we'd be happy with that. All right. Well, I mean, that's hardly a ringing endorsement of Wiseman, but it does leave the door open. And then with Joe Lacob saying what he said to Tim Kawakami this week about we love Wiseman, but, this could still go any which way. It's not that the Warriors are sitting there going, well, we're giving up on him. But as you said, they're going to have to make some tough choices. And if you have to make those tough choices and you got this guy who has not, to this point, produced the way you hoped and you have to pay him a lot of money, you may be forced to make that hard decision. You don't want to give up on him, but something has to give. And that would be something I'm sure they take a long, hard look at.
Let's go to Dale in Walnut Creek here before we pause one final time on Warriors This Week. What's going on, Dale?
Hey, guys. What's going on with you?
Hey.
How you doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Getting ready for more rain, but talking some Warriors and enjoying it. What's on your mind?
Yeah. A couple of things. One, I think, and I'm saying this first one a little bit glibly, Jordan Poole's doing an excellent job filling in for Steph Curry. He's making the same mistakes Steph Curry made earlier in his career.
Whoa.
I seem to recall, and maybe it was a dream, in the finals where Steph threw it behind his back to somebody sitting in the sidelines. So I think we need to give Jordan Poole a little bit more time. And then extending from that, and I mean that, I'm a little tongue-in-cheek, but extending that, I really agree with some of the callers earlier talking about if you're getting on Wiseman's case too much. Let me make it real simple. Give James Wiseman as much time to develop as you give Jordan Poole, as Draymond, who played 4 years in college. Give him the same amount of time before you jump off his bandwagon. He's a raw rookie. They should have, if they're going to criticize him and think about trading him, they should have looked at how many games he played in college before they drafted him. He's going to be fine if you just give him a fair shake, the same amount of time to develop as these other guys who played a couple of years or more in college and who had that type of instruction. You give him that, and he will be a very, very good center as we transition to the next phase of the Warriors. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
Appreciate it. We're up against it a little bit. Let's react to this on the other side, Whitey, because I do have some thoughts on it. I know you do as well. 888-957-9570. Why the timeline is a little bit different from the players that Dale mentioned there. We'll get into that coming back. And the Warriors working as hard as they've had to work here on this homestand. Could that take a toll later on? We'll get into that as well. JD and Whitey, Warriors This Week, 95.7 The Game.
Boy, am I glad to be done with my holiday shopping.
Oh, I know.
And now I just want to relax.
Me too. Well, except there's one more store we should check out.
Oh, no way.
Because this week, we can get a Samsung, LG, or Sony TV at an incredible price.
Really? Where?
At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. They're really cutting deals.
Because the holidays are over?
Yep. So this is our chance to get what we wanted for Christmas.
Are the prices really that good?
Yes. For 7 days they are. And Video Only has those top-rated models we were thinking about all on sale.
All right. The best stuff cheap is worth a trip.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael. Video Only.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Come into Friedman's Appliance and see the full line of Fisher & Paykel's indoor and outdoor products. Experience them in person in live vignettes, including their famous dish drawer dishwasher and unique sizes of refrigeration designed to fit seamlessly into your kitchen space. Fisher & Paykel products deliver perfect results with exceptional design and performance. And for a limited time, receive up to a $2,000 rebate when you purchase qualifying Fisher & Paykel appliances from Friedman's Appliance. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or online at friedmansappliance.com.
Investing is confusing. Dawn raids, triple witching hour, candlesticks, crown jewels, bears, bulls, bear hugs, blue chips. It's one big word salad of uncertainty. Fortunately, Fremont Bank now has incredible rates on their savings accounts and CDs. And while savings accounts and CDs may not be known for their great rates at your current bank, at Fremont Bank, you can get great rates from a great local bank. To learn more, stop in or visit us online. We'll explain it all in plain language. Fremont Bank, serving the Bay Area since 1964. Member FDIC.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
When you open up a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, you're unlocking potential. The potential to do your own thing. Be your own boss. Steer your own success. Blaze your own trail. Each and every Sprinter van built, designed, and equipped to let you hit the open road and take on any goal. To help you follow your passions, reawaken that spirit of adventure, check all of those big, bold, exciting experiences off your bucket list. Owning a Sprinter van lets you live, work, and play out your dreams wherever they take you. 16 body types, a choice of gas or diesel engine, thousands of ways to customize. It's capable and versatile enough to help drive your ambitions. And now you could win your own Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van customized by Gretsch RV by entering the Dan Patrick Show's Ultimate Fan Van Sweepstakes. To enter, get official rules, visit danpatrick.com for your chance to win the Sprinter van. So go ahead, now's the time. Unlock your potential inside a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van.
Get up to $26,000 of ERC money for every employee you had in 2020 and 21 that qualifies. You qualify if you satisfy either one of these two tests. The easy way, your gross revenue drops a certain amount. The complex way, a full or partial closure of your business, a facts and circumstances test. You could only use the inside of your business up to 25% of capacity. Even an essential business like a food store had a 75% partial closure. Or supply chain disruptions, or limits on the number of people you could have in an area, or many other possible factors. Beware of companies that only consider the easy way and avoid the complex way, and also companies that fraudulently say everybody qualifies, especially companies that only just recently came into existence and then can disappear. We've been practicing tax law for over 30 years. Call Moskowitz LLP at 888-TAX-DEAL. That's 888-TAXDEAL. 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. MoskowItzLLP.com.
Now back to Warriors This Week on 95.7 The Game.
All right, final segment.
Whoa.
Rolling along here on a Saturday. Man, we are humming.
Wow.
Warriors This Week. Happy New Year to everyone, as this is our first show of the new year.
And happy early
7th.
birthday to John Dickinson.
Yeah, I hear a rumor. that is coming.
Isn't it you and GR3? Is that the former Warrior that you share a birthday with?
Yeah, Glenn Robinson III.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Glenn Robinson III is the one, and others. David Bowie and Elvis Presley, and Jason Giambi, and
John Dickinson and GR3. There you go.
And GR3. Yeah, Glenn Robinson.
Nice. Good for you.
Couple of calls to get to at 888-957-9570. I also wanted to double back to what we were talking about in the break, and we had a caller. I think it was Dale in Walnut Creek, talking about James Wiseman, and you have to give him as much time as you've given some of the other younger players to develop. And Jordan Poole was the one, Whitey, that really stuck out to me. And James Wiseman's not a rookie. I get it. The circumstances suck, but this is James Wiseman's third year. And I know he lost his second year because of injury, and he lost a good portion of his first year because of injury, and he didn't play a lot in college, and all of those things are true, but you have to look at it in the context of, by Jordan Poole's third year, Jordan Poole was helping the Warriors win an NBA championship last year.
Right.
Jordan Poole's third year was last year. Jordan Poole went down in his second year to the G League and came back and was an impactful bench player.
Right.
And then came back and was able to be a starter for a team that went 29-9 right up until Klay Thompson came back and took his spot in the starting lineup. So it's unfair to compare the two, but it's just not realistic to give at some point players. I'm not saying James Wiseman has to be where Jordan Poole was, but Jordan Poole already had made himself into a player long before this point of James Wiseman's career.
Yeah, Jordan Poole, his first year, he was not very good. We know that. By his second year, he had shown, remember in that play-in year, remember the huge shot he made against the Lakers in the play-in game? He had shown in his second year that he had improved dramatically. And then, as you said, in his third year, he was even better, and he continues to get better. It doesn't always happen that way, but Wiseman hasn't had the opportunity because of injuries. And the point is, they got to give him all the time you gave others. You just can't. You've got to make that tough decision because you're owing him so much money next year, and you have so many other players that you owe so much money to. So you just don't have the luxury of saying, all right, well, let's pay him $12.1 million times the luxury tax. That may mean we have to compromise our roster in other ways, but we got to give him time. You just don't have that luxury. And maybe it's not fair, but that's just where you are right now in terms of managing your assets with James Wiseman. And yeah, you're right. Poole deserves credit for how quickly and how dramatically he improved.
Yeah, and look, it's not to say that the Warriors wouldn't want to continue to keep Wiseman and develop him,
right,
but it's going to take a lot longer, probably twice as long at this point than it took Jordan Poole, because Jordan Poole, again, was at a point in his second year by the end where you were like, oh, this guy's going to be, at a minimum, a really useful bench player. And again, it's not fair to hold Wiseman necessarily to that standard, but you also have to kind of miss me with the give them time, because the guys that show that they're ready to play, like even Jonathan Kuminga, year 2, Jonathan Kuminga is showing signs of being a player this year that frankly we haven't really come close to seeing from Wiseman. Not totally all his fault, but just part of being real.
Yeah, the good news for Wiseman is before he got hurt, he had some really good games where he didn't commit many fouls. It was a game he had, of course, the game on Christmas against the Grizzlies where he contested and affected shots. There was a game where he didn't take, maybe it was that game, he didn't take any shots and still was efficient and effective, and it looked like, okay, maybe things are starting to come together for him. So then he got hurt, which, as you pointed out, unfortunately that happens to him. But I think if he can keep that going here, he could change this whole, he still has time in what's left in this season to change this whole narrative. He still does.
888-957-9570. Let's go to Jay in Benicia here on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Jay?
How you doing? Hope you all having a good New Year so far, staying safe in this weather.
Yeah,
Thanks,
appreciate
Jay.
it. Staying dry so far.
Absolutely. Definitely. So I just wanted to really touch on the fact that, like, the state the Warriors are in right now. With all these new developing players, you have a few of them who've been on the roster a little bit longer than others, especially with what people are saying about Wiseman to give him a little bit more time. I mean, Jordan Poole has seized the opportunity. He was given time. He seized the opportunity. And that team needs to be able to put their time, money, resources into someone who's going to actually propel us into the championship again, instead of just being on the sideline. I will say that any way that it goes down, it seems like we're going to lose something. We're going to have to either pay the veterans but not use them as much because we need these younger players to develop. The younger players aren't going to get as much time on the floor. Something's not going to go perfectly. That's obviously what coaching staff is trying to figure out. But you do need to give time to some of these younger players. But if they don't start showing right away, you can't risk the whole season. Or if you are going to risk the whole season, then once you do that, you need to make sure you're putting as much time in these younger players as you can, so that while they are on the floor in these actual high-stake games, they feel that pressure. They're really getting comfortable in that position. Up until, I feel like now, especially after Curry's injury or Curry being off on the side, it definitely gave Poole the opportunity. Like you said, he's on the starting lineup right now. He's able to really show what he can do. And when you show what you can do, you stay on and you continue being on the starting lineup.
Thanks for the call. I mean, one thing I'm fascinated by, Whitey, looking ahead here, is how does the return of the veteran players impact the minutes, and just how comfortable some of the younger players and the role players, even the two-way guys, are. Wiggins and Iguodala mean less Anthony Lamb. That's just flat out. Now, maybe not as much less now because Kuminga is also out, but it also means probably less Dante DiVincenzo. And I think Dante DiVincenzo has flourished with the opportunity to play 25 to 30 plus minutes in games, knowing that he has the freedom to maybe make a few more mistakes, but also make a few more plays because he's going to be out there for longer. I think that is something, while everybody's happy and rightfully so, should be at the Warriors getting healthier, there is going to be a change, and a lot of these other players that have had more significant roles are now going to have to figure out how things fit for them in new roles to help this team win here moving forward.
Ty Jerome probably is not going to play much, if at all. And, of course, we all know this, and we've talked about this. It'll be very interesting to see how Jordan Poole adjusts, because we know that he really would much prefer to start. So going back to coming off the bench, what's that going to be like for him? Real quick here, as we talk about young players, you go back to Kuminga's draft class. So those guys in their sophomore seasons, and that looked like a really good draft class, and it probably still will be. But John Hollinger wrote about this today. You look at some of the top players in that draft, and Kuminga has shown some improvement this year, but like Scotty Barnes is like, what happened to him? I mean, he's okay. Cade Cunningham's not even playing. Jalen Green on the Rockets is like, yeah, he's kind of good, but he's not really improving. You just never know with young players is my point. Franz Wagner right now maybe the best player from that class. So it's way too early, A, to know about any of these guys, but B, you just never know. But I do think with Wiseman, the whole thing about him being a dominant player, right now, I don't even think that's something the Warriors are worrying about. It's like you just got to play consistently defensively and become a useful player for us, someone we can rely on. Forget about the greatness. We just need to know we can rely on you night to night.
888-957-9570. That's where Dennis in San Francisco checks in here on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, you as well.
My call. Hey, Wiseman has something you can't coach. 7'1" with a 7-foot wingspan. Now, I know that doesn't do you any good if you can't use it, you know. But I don't think he played better as a rookie than he's playing now, and I blame that on the Warriors coaching staff. And you know, and plus he's had injuries. But you can't give up on the guy. Look how long it took Giannis to develop. Look how long it took Steph to develop. We didn't know even Steph was going to make it because his ankles were so bad. You know, you got to give this kid time. He you know, maybe he's a bust. I hope not. You know, but I really think that they need to give him time. They need to find somebody who can coach him because I think he's got athletic ability and he's got size. And the league is full of young talent, and you're going to need a guy like him to help out.
Yeah, the league is full of young talent. There's no doubt. I think, Whitey, the league is full of young talent that more has the body type of a Jonathan Kuminga than a James Wiseman, I think, at this point. And I think that's where Kuminga still projects, in my mind, to be the best of this group. And I think that's also why Kuminga has been able to play the most of this group to this particular point in time with varying degrees of success. I mean, he's had to take his lumps and be in and out of the rotation. I get not wanting to give up on Wiseman. I really do. And I'm not even saying the Warriors have to give up on him, but every time we bring this up, it always, the phones light up and people want to react to it. I know you've said it a lot. James Wiseman really is a polarizing figure in the Warriors organization, for the Warriors franchise right now. But at some point, I would push back on the fact that he played better his first year. He scored more, yes, but it was on a team that was just not in a good place. It wasn't conducive to being a contributor on a winning team that has eyes on winning a championship.
I'm with you. I thought that's really interesting question that Dennis raised. By the way, when it comes to Giannis, I mean, look it up. Giannis broke into the league when he was 19 and he averaged just like 7 points a game. The next year he was at 13, then up to 17. He got better every year. Came into the league as a 19-year-old. He got better every year. And that's Wiseman has not been able to do that. Last year, he missed the year, I know. But was he better in his rookie year? It's a really interesting question because what was he, 11.6 and like 6 rebounds a game, something like that? Yeah,
but he was playing more.
Well, it seemed like that year, please correct me if I'm wrong, like the Warriors almost had to decide, okay, are we in a stretch here where we're developing James or are we trying to win? You know?
It was two different things.
Yes.
You're right.
Yes. So even then you could see that what he was doing didn't necessarily fit. And then through no fault of his own, it was after he got hurt that they went on that, they won 15-20, whatever it was. So there's always been that issue with Wiseman and his game and a fit with the way the Warriors play when they're playing their best basketball.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of that year, and Steve Kerr has addressed this and acknowledged that he thought in hindsight it was a mistake to just throw him out there and play him. But I think part of their thought process at that point, Whitey, was, hey, we can't win a championship. We know we can't win a championship because Klay Thompson's out and this team just isn't, it can be a good team but not a great or a championship caliber team. So because we can't win a championship, let's just throw Wiseman out there and see what he's got. I think at that point, too, Kevon Looney was an unknown. Remember, Kevon Looney was coming off of the issues with the neuropathy.
And that's another reason they drafted him. You're right. Yes.
I mean, like we think of Kevon Looney now as a known commodity and a key cog, and he absolutely is. But at the time in which Wiseman was drafted, and at the beginning of that season, we didn't know if Kevon Looney was even going to be able to play regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And he, to his credit, and the work that he's done, has been able to be essentially an Iron Man since then.
Yeah.
So. And the Warriors have needed that. They don't win the championship without Kevon Looney playing at the level that he did a year ago and just fortifying that starting center position. But as far as Wiseman, they went through stretches where it was, hey, throw him out there. Doesn't matter because we can't win a championship anyway. And then at times I think it went so poorly for the team that they thought, we have to take him out in an attempt to allow the team to play better. And then, yes, when he got hurt, they went on that 15-5 run, and then it was to a point last year where I felt like they didn't want to even shoehorn him in at any point had he been healthy enough to come back. Now, it turns out he wasn't, but they slow-played the heck out of him coming back to protect him, but also I think to not have an elephant in the room that needed to be addressed, which is how do you try to get Wiseman some minutes on this team that's so effectively efficient and running on all cylinders without him.
Well, the good thing is, I'm repeating myself here, but you don't have to make that decision now. Fact is, It's not trending the way that you hoped it would be at this point, and Joe Lacob is open to the idea that this could go any which way, but he still has time to show what he can do, and you don't have to make up your mind just yet on James Wiseman. He's getting opportunities here, assuming he can get back on the floor to show that he is progressing and improving.
Let's go to Tim in Raleigh next here on Warriors This Week. Hey, Tim, how you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Tim.
What's up, guys? Happy New Year to you. I wanted to call about Jordan Poole, but hearing these things about Wiseman and Kuminga, I do want to make a little bit of comment. I hear what you're saying, JD, about the rookie year, but I think we forget pretty easily. I mean, the kid showed he could play in the league the rookie year. Yeah, was it towards winning basketball? Absolutely not, but that doesn't stop Whitey from saying Franz Wagner is the best out of that draft class. He ain't playing no winning ball in Orlando. I mean, I think Evan Mobley will have something to say about that, being on a winning Cleveland team that was in that draft class. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think Kuminga could have something to say about that, being on a championship team his rookie year. I mean, look how easy we forget. We act like Kuminga did nothing his rookie year. The kid was contributing his rookie year on an NBA championship team, and we just act like it didn't even exist. I mean, look at his numbers. Average 17, I think, minutes a game, contributed. But we act like this year is our first sight of Kuminga. It's just amazing to me. But I don't really want to talk about that. I wanted to ask you this, Jay. Do you, or both of you guys, Poole looks at Curry more like a mentor, patterning his game after him. At what point is he going to use, I know a lot of young basketball players, shooters especially, they don't want to get in the weight room. They think it's going to mess their shot up, whatever. Steph has proved that to be a misnomer. When is Poole going to get in the weight room and develop his body and learn that part of Steph and start patterning that part of Steph? You can see he's a fairly, weak player out there, pushed around, so to speak, and you don't see that with Curry anymore. And you would think in this day and age, Poole would have picked that up, pretty early, like right now in his career in the offseason. And it just surprised me he hasn't gotten in the weight room to really develop his body and get himself ready. Something I was thinking about. I mean, he's modeling himself after Steph, and he could get a head start where Steph didn't really do it until, about 5-6 years in. Poole needs to go ahead and make that adjustment and get in the weight room, develop his body, and be ready for some of this contact and stop getting knocked off his spot so easy. But that's all, guys. Happy New Year to you. I hope y'all have a good one, fellas.
Thank you, Tim.
Appreciate it. Look, there are a couple things to chew on. You want to hit Poole? I wanted to hit the impact of Kuminga. I mean, I think this is different than last year in the sense that, yes, Kuminga did contribute. I don't mean to come off that he – but the reality is the Warriors did not need Kuminga to contribute really at any point in the playoffs. There were times where he had to because of injuries and the depth chart dictated that he was the next man up. But the Warriors also had enough other options when they were whole to where he did not have to contribute. And neither did Moses Moody, and obviously Wiseman was hurt and didn't play the whole year. So, this is the first year where it's, hey, Kuminga is in the rotation. He's got to be in the rotation. There's no real alternative. So his his production is more important this year, and his ability to sustain it throughout the year is more important this year because there are fewer options to go away from him on this current roster. So it's almost sink or swim a little bit with Kuminga. I'll let you touch on any of that or Poole, Whitey.
Just Kuminga, the way he's guarding people 94 feet is like breathtaking, and it's great to see him do that. The perimeter game is not where you'd like to see it. Of course, that's nitpicking, but if he ever, and I've said this with you a million times, if he ever becomes a consistent outside shooter, he'll be unguardable. Tim, I'm glad you mentioned Mobley. I love Evan Mobley. I think if the Warriors had ended up with him somehow, he'd be a great center. He's really good defensively. Offensively, he's dropped off just a little bit last year. So he is one of those guys from that draft class that so far it's like, well, some of his game is trending the wrong way, but he's going to be, I think, a great defensive player. Jordan Poole, we've talked a lot about it, JD. By NBA standards, he looks like maybe he's not as strong as other players, but I don't know. I don't know what his routine is, if he's working out with weights. I can't say he's not. I don't know that, but I agree with Tim to watch him. It seems like if he were able to get a little stronger, it would make him a little more solid defensively, and he wouldn't get shoved around as much.
Whitey, excellent show, my man. As always, really appreciate it. Having a blast with you, and let's do it again next week.
Happy birthday, Happy New Year.
Appreciate that. Happy New Year to you and to everyone. Thanks to Craig Valentino. Happy birthday to him as well from this past week. Fox Sports Radio is coming your way next. We'll reconvene at 4:30 here with Warriors Live as I'll head over to Chase. And we got full coverage coming up. Warriors and the Magic. Keep it locked right here at 95.7 The Game.
I bet you folks are glad to be done with your shopping. Hopefully, all your gifts went well. But there's one last store to visit, this time just for yourself. Your chance to get one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony TVs at a crazy low price. Where? At Video Only's year-end clearance sale. A great way to end the year. If you don't check out these deals at Video Only, you'll be sorry.
Make connections that count at Evergreen Valley College and get free tuition when you enroll for 6 units or more. That's right, free tuition and no student fees this spring. EVC is an award-winning transfer college and has the 4th most diverse faculty in the country. And with EVC alum earning more money than nearly